Spin off.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Zoning Board of Adjustment for June 19th, 2025. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, folks, welcome to the room, and we'll proceed here with some introductions. To my immediate left,
Crystal Morin, Secretary.
I'm Lynn Perkins, the Chair.
Craig Corbett, Vice Chair.
Donald Burgess, member.
Jim Dietzel, alternate member.
And we have Robert Mackey with us as the Historical Code Enforcement Officer, and his replacement after this evening would be Carrie Owen.
Right.
Ms. Owen, you're going to find that I butcher more names than I can tell you, so just bear with me. And we have our clerk in the back. Too many names change.
Caroline Wilson.
Caroline Wilson, thank you very much. All right. Okay, so I'm going to ask just a couple announcements. Please shut off cell phones, iPhones, anything that could create a distraction to these proceedings, okay? In the event of an emergency, please exit to the rear of the room. Don't use the elevator. These proceedings are scheduled to end at 10 p.m. and our audio-video recorded. We are missing some members. Mr. Tripp is dealing with a family member on the West Coast, and we are missing alternates, Mr. Dragani, who was sitting on this case as well. Mrs. Morin was not here originally. Mrs. Morin, I would need you to define whether or not you're comfortable to sit on this case and proceed as it's been tabled to this evening.
I am comfortable. I've watched the previous meeting and read the meeting minutes to be caught up.
Okay, very good. So in that regard, as a primary member, Mrs. Morin has that option, and she's defined that. And whereas we are short, Mr. Dietzel, you weren't on this case. Do you feel confident on your information that you have processed originally?
I'm comfortable, Mr. Chair.
All right, very good. So we'll call the first case up, which is 25-113, New Hampshire signs, and that was tabled from 6/5/2025. We have some new submittals from Bird Enterprises. We would ask them to come up and continue their hearing portion of this. So gentlemen, feel free to pick up where you left off with and introduce any new submittals that you have. I think, Mr. Corbett, did you have some specific definitions to information that you wanted to see? And that goes for any other members of the board that were amendable to the tabling of this case.
I did, Mr. Chair. What I requested to see was some examples of what the sign would look like, how the messages would change, and some examples of the messaging. The applicants did provide us via, I believe, Ms. Peoples, a link that provided examples of that. The first one, I believe, changed within a few seconds just because of how it started. The remainder showed the 20-second delay as described to us. I felt that it was sufficient. It sufficiently met what I was looking for.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Corbett. Anybody else? Mr. Burgess? Any direction you feel you would like to go in? We'll give the applicant and his representation opportunity to address the board.
Yeah, I think we were still deciding on the height of this and the size.
Okay, and Mr. Dietzel?
No, thank you, Mr.
Okay.
Chair. I'm all set.
Mrs. Morin, any concerns that you wish to have specifically addressed?
I don't at the moment.
Very good. Gentlemen, I open up the floor to yourselves. Go ahead.
Thank you. Peter March, New Hampshire Signs, 66 Gold Ledge Avenue, Auburn, New Hampshire. So we're requesting two variances to install adequate signage on a property owned by Delahunty. In fact, it's Bird Enterprises at 187 Hampstead Drive. Property is zoned LMDR. Specifically, we're asking for a number of signs and size of signs in one of the variances. In other words, Article 7, Section 165, 101-101.1. And then we are also asking for an EMC, Electronic Message Center. And so those are the two variances we're requesting. I made an addendum available to the board that has a number of other bits of information. We feel, as far as the size of the sign is concerned, it needs to be somewhat close to what we asked for it to be effective. We were asking for 65 square feet where we're allowed 24. In the spirit of good neighborliness, though, we dropped the tenant panel and we're reducing the sign to 59 square feet from its existing 65. So we feel we've made a concession on the size of the sign. The other comment that was raised was danger to motorists and the impact that the sign would have on passing motorists. So if you look in the package that I've given you, I've basically called out two reports, or several others. It's not a subject that has a ton of research done, but there's two reports I called out on that. One is a 2012 Texas A&M report. If you go to the third page in, you'll see the header page for that. That's the statistic analysis of the relationship between on-premise digital signage and traffic safety. And that is the header page on that report. So it gives it some credibility.
Is that Roman numeral 8 page?
No, it's actually it's the third page into the PDF that I sent out. And that is just, it's this page, Mr. Chairman, that page there.
Okay.
That just gives the report some credibility. The part I draw your attention to is the numeral page 8, correct? Numeral 8. And the bottom line on that says, the results of this study provide scientifically based data that indicate the installation of digital on-premise signs does not lead to a statistically significant increase in crashes on major roads. So what that's saying is that this is a study that has basically said that these signs do not cause traffic safety. There's no traffic safety issue with them. If you flip to the next page, this is another report done by the Federal Highway Administration, I beg your pardon. Again, that's the header page on this. And if you go to page 4, which is about 4 pages in on that report, and you read the top paragraph of page 4, and I'm not going to read it in its entirety, it basically suggests that there is proof that these signs do not create traffic safety issues. So, as I said, there's a fair amount of scientific data to suggest that there is no additional traffic danger from these signs. That's the reason that when you drive down the Highway Administration has digital signs all over the highways, warning of accidents ahead or speed limit restrictions or lane changes or whatever. So they adopted these signs and they did it as a result of their belief that they do not cause significant accidents.
So if I can just intervene for 1
Yes.
second, just for clarity. When you say these signs and Roman numeral 8,
Yeah.
page 8, and then this last page that you're referencing, is this specific to signs in general, or is it specific to electronic digital messaging
It
signs?
is specific to the electronic digital part of
Okay.
this. That was the part that our abutters had most of the issue with. So they had issues with light output and they had issues with traffic safety. So what I'm trying to do is provide information to yourselves to say that traffic safety is not necessarily an issue with these signs.
Okay. I just want to make sure we were
Yep, I understand.
clear on, the context of what you were
Yep.
expressing, okay?
The next discussion that was had was the light output and its effect on neighbors. So what I've attached to this is a photometric report from the manufacturer, and that is the third page from the bottom of the packet, and it's this document here. I hope it came to you in color because
It's referencing a radial aspect around the sign,
that is
correct?
correct, yeah. So Daktronics, the manufacturer of the sign, provides an explanation that the light that you see, the light that interferes with passers-by and interferes with your eyes, is measured in foot candles. A foot candle is a specific candle, wax candle, 1 foot from a person's eye. If you look at this photometric diagram, you'll see that it has very little effect. At 100 feet, which is really where most people are going to be seeing the sign, straight on, the foot candles is 0.04 foot candles. So it has a very limited light effect on the surrounding area. If you move to 30 degrees, that goes down to 0.4. Sorry, 20 degrees goes down to 0.4. 30 degrees goes down to 0.3. So really, what that is saying is, from a visual point of view, the sign has a very limited effect on the light that you see with your eye and ambient light in the area. So it has an almost negligible effect on the surrounding area as far as light is concerned.
Is it almost to suggest, and I think Mr. Corbett could relate to this more than myself, my recollection of the last meeting, he kind of hits a nail on the head in relative to your fundamental need or desire to have this sign and how it would be of service. I can't remember what he said, but it struck me, and it still stands out in my head. He's willing to speak for himself. But is the idea that you're presenting the electronic messaging sign is there, and its presence is more specific to people who know you're there and are interested in what's happening?
Yes, I think that's correct to say. The fundamental reason that we're asking for it is because we offer this multiple of services that is very difficult to communicate on a static sign. I'm trying to answer the butters' concerns about the fact that the sign is not going to be intrusive, and it's not going to be anything like as intrusive as they think it is, for the reasons that I've said. Firstly, it's not going to impact traffic safety. Secondly, this photometric study shows that the actual light output of this sign is very minimal, and the effect it has on passers-by is very minimal.
Yeah, please, Mr. Corbett, I don't mean to put words in your mouth, but feel free to interject if you recall what your feelings were on this, if you'd like. So.
I believe there were two separate points I think that were made. My first question was more of the type of messaging that was to be going up, as was provided on the examples. There was one, I believe, in reference to the nursery, bulk mulch on sale, for the remainder of the month or something. But then it was the examples of what the athletic facility would be offering, which is what I was curious about. It had one advertisement was, I believe, tryouts at the end of the month. I think there was possibly one that referenced, or we discussed the last meeting, like pitching lessons, they would put up when that would be there. I believe the question that came up, and I don't remember who brought it up, but there was one about the electronic versus a sign that could be changed daily, almost like like what you see at T-Bones. Yep. I do believe, and I was going through the minutes, I thought there was a discussion on that, and it was mainly for the amount of messages they were trying to share. It just wasn't sufficient. I don't want to put words in the applicant's mouth, but I believe those were two separate lines of questioning.
I can answer that if you wish. Is this working?
Yep.
But so, the use or the need for the sign, and what we talked about at the original meeting, was twofold. Yes, it's certainly to display what we're doing there, and while we're there, to allow people to understand what's going on at that property. The property is unique. We've talked about this. It's set back from the road a great distance. It was formerly a church, so we've repurposed that entirely into something that's going to be thriving, we hope, and this will help us do that. So, you know, passerbys that have been going down that road for several years just consider it a church. They think of it as that, so they continue beyond. So we're trying to change that thought to understand there is a business, in case two businesses that I brought to town there, and I need to be able to change those messages, you know, more frequently than a manual sign would give, so people understand what those businesses do. So, you know, the question was, is it for identifying what we do on a daily basis, or is it bringing people in? It's really both. I mean, for the start of my business, which we just were fortunate enough to get moving this week on the baseball side of things and just do a couple, you know, meet and greets and so forth. It allows people to know we're here. It allows people to know we are doing tryouts. We're doing tryouts next week, so we can do that. That allows us to grow that business and get people in the door. From that point on, it's going to allow us to, for like, say, the nursery side of things, to do exactly that. You know, fall is great for planting, get your call for your mulch now, those type of messages. So it actually would be twofold to answer your question.
If I can add to that, the board asked us to try and put a representation of what the sign would look like together. It's been a technological challenge, but I think we have something that will show something like we think the sign will work. So before we get to that, I'd like to say we are happy to accept some restrictions. The message said operating hours 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. Okay. Obviously, the sign portion will light when it's dark, and it will run, essentially, the lights and the sign will run the same time as the message center. The sign will change without transition effects. In other words, it'll be a message will go away, another one will come up. So there won't be any intervening effects in it. And then probably this is the one that we talked about last week or a couple of weeks ago, is we're going to change the frequency of the message from the 5 seconds that is allowed to 20 seconds. What that essentially means is a car traveling past us at 35 miles an hour will travel 51 feet a second. That means that most vehicles will pass this in about 3 seconds. So the majority of vehicles are not going to see a transition because the transition is 20 seconds. So the transition is not going to be visible to most people, but it'll still allow us to convey a series of messages. I asked Mr. Dragani to send him a link. There's a Google pictorial. Please bear in mind that the first one, this was actually quite a technical challenge for us. So the first one changes in 7 seconds. Ignore that one. After that, they change at the rate of 20 seconds. So this is sort of what you would see passing this sign.
Are you eliminating the TBD on this? You are, okay.
In the square footage of that, sir.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yes, yeah, so we brought that down. So the abutters wanted us to make a concession on the side, so we did.
Okay. Anything else?
Well, if we, this is play, this should be playing now.
So I'm seeing, you know, not that we're going to would restrict that if you were to prevail here, but I see somewhat of a public service there, recognition of
Yes.
youth in the community. And
Mr.
that's
Yanag-
your example.
Yeah, Mr.
It's
Yanag
not just
can talk to that.
self-serving.
This is a youth sports facility, and I think.
Yeah, I mean, as you can see this change, that's really our intention. We do that currently in the town we're in with Wyndham now. We have a message reader there now. Currently, it's much closer to our building. We still don't change it to the frequency we would like due to the manual, but we do congratulate the seniors for graduating. We congratulate someone for having a baby that works for us. We also, advertise our product. So we do both. Do we, is it 50-50? No, it's probably 80%, generating things that benefit our business, and in 20% public service. But yeah, there is a public service message there that we think makes us a good part of the local community. It's helped us a lot. We do more donations than we do advertising. It just ends up being a better service in a local community, so we do it that way.
What is the proportion of the digital aspect to the rest of the sign, which would be the referencing the NEA and the Delahunty? What is the proportions of that?
We're taking TBD off this sign, unfortunately, because it took us so long to get this, it was quite difficult to get it. So the TBD disappears. I may have to ask my colleague to answer that question, but the message center, I think, is what, a 3-foot message center? Yeah.
So seemingly, the lighted sign, which we heard more tempered acceptance to the sign, really dominates the electronic messaging by at least 2 parts.
I think that's a fair comment.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Sent to electronic,
Mm-hmm.
quick math.
I will tell you, we've tried desperately to be modest about this, but we understand, I mean, within the constraints of what we're trying to achieve.
And the dimensions that you're showing, and I'm staring at the original submittal, which I realize you've shrunk the height of, but that 36-inch height is what we are using and would stick to
Yes,
on the digital messaging.
yes, sir.
Okay. Mr. Burgess or Mr. Dietzel, either of you have anything you wish to add here or ask?
So, yes. Could you, what the height of the sign is now? Oh, it's going to be, I should say.
Yeah, the height of the sign is roughly 16 feet, so 15 foot
feet.
11.
That's a really small guy standing next to it.
Yeah, there's a really small guy standing next to it.
Mr. Mackey, the original public notice on this was 65 square feet, but that's been modified at this point. I think Ms. Peoples, our clerk, has modified that a bit, correct? So I have a scatter of paperwork in front of me, but if anybody wants to
59.
identify which motion
50
that is
57.
relating to, so we have that accurate.
Sorry, what was that question, Mr. Chair?
I'm referencing
Yep.
to sort out the,
So This-
go ahead.
Yeah,
Let
and
me
on
do
the
the
second
math
one,
on that and see. I don't know
Yeah,
that that was modified.
it says the 65 square feet there, so we would need to change that to the 59 that's referenced.
Okay,
Correct, so that was the original motion was for the 65 square feet,
got it, okay.
or the original size.
And we have broken the motions apart so that we have the 3 building signs are separate from the pylon itself.
If
Correct.
that's how the board chooses to vote.
Okay, thank you. All right. Gentlemen, anything else?
I'm good, thank you.
All right,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Dietzel, you square? All right,
I'm all
Mrs.
set,
Moran,
thank you.
anything from you? Okay. We have to allow rebuttal. You've provided new information, and we do have quite a backlog of cases
Yeah,
ahead.
understand.
With that, I'll make a call for rebuttal from the public. Mr. Preventure has posted the phone numbers if there's anyone remote. Mr. Corbett, you want to help me with that?
Yeah, anybody at home who wishes to dial in, you're going to dial 646-558-8656. Your meeting ID is 323-909-140. And once in, you're going to press *9 to raise your hand. Anybody having technical issues, you're going to dial 603-845-5585, and someone will help you.
All right, rebuttal on support. Anyone wish to come forward? Seeing no one rise. And rebuttal in opposition. This would be your opportunity. Come forward.
Seeing none rise online, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Preventure. And good evening again.
Good evening. Andrew Roje, 164 Hempstead Road, Derry.
Please proceed.
Well, first of all, we just heard about a report from the University of A&M in Texas about car crashes in relation to electronic messaging systems. Just a real quick Google search coming out of the University of Toronto in Canada. Researchers compared the number of crashes from 2 years prior to signs being introduced on their highways with 5 years of data while they were in place. And what they came out with from this was an increase in the number of crashes on the 10-kilometer stretch that they were looking at after the sign by 4.5%, which equated to 2,600 additional crashes thanks to the electronic messaging systems. I think what this tells us pretty simply is that you can pull data from different sources and come out with different answers. I don't think that I would argue that what I just presented to you is the accurate truth, neither can I present what they are. These are two completely contrary opinions, and I would suggest, therefore, that both are irrelevant. Additionally to that, I just heard something that took me a little bit by surprise from Mr. Yanako saying that they have a messaging center that kind of made it sound like they have an electronic center. They do not, unless I'm much mistaken.
Could you back up and clarify what you just said, please?
Regarding the center sign, at their current location, we were just told that they do have a messaging center. To be clear, what they have is
Down Wyndham?
in Wyndham, a manual changing sign, which I think you've heard from the residents that we have no objection to. We being now, you've heard from 26 residents, I believe, asking you to not approve this. That would be 20 signed signatures requesting it, as well as 6 people, including myself, coming up to the podium asking you not to approve this. We're, I think, all asking you about the electronic messaging center. During the last meeting, I pointed out Martini Mondays down the road at the tavern, and maybe that was a mistake because, frankly, I think that this board turned it into a little bit of a joke where, you know, ha ha ha, we're not going to be advertising martinis on this sign because that's not what they do here. I think that everybody understands that. I heard from some of the residents that we, including myself, felt insulted by that, you know, it was kind of turned into a joke and pushed back in our face. But frankly, what we are talking about, to be clear, is an electronic messaging center is what we are against. I'll start speaking for myself because I don't want to speak for people who have already spoken for themselves and can continue to do so. What I am saying is I am okay with a backlit sign or a sign that has a light, you know, from the ground shining up at the sign. Those are fine by me as a resident who lives nearby, but an electronic messaging sign is something that, as a resident, I can't ignore. You know, kind of what you find through life is, you know, when a company puts up a sign and you live nearby, you drive by the sign every day, you stop noticing it because it's there, it's the same thing, it's static. With an electronic messaging center, it grabs your attention every single time that you drive by, and it becomes a nuisance when you are a neighbor. That is one of my primary reasons for not wanting it. It has nothing to do with Martini Mondays. It has to do with it being a major distraction. Another thing that was brought up during the previous meeting was, you know, we kept talking about the East Derry Tavern, but then people also brought up, well, on one side of it you have the tavern, and on the other side of it down the road we have a gas station. And I don't recall which member it was, but somebody asked, you know, how do you, was it you? Yeah, how do you feel about that? Well, frankly, that's a static number that changes maybe once a day in a much, much smaller format. It is, in my opinion, worlds apart from what we're talking about right now, being this sign that changes once every 20 seconds, advertising for a company. You know, just a total of 4 numbers and a decimal point is not the same thing.
So I'm going to hold you up for a minute.
Sure.
and just, if you want to mark where you're at, and I'll let you proceed.
Sure.
You know, you're talking about relevance, right? And as far as the Martini Monday signs, there was nobody here, including myself, and we made sure to go out of our way to have clarity about how this establishment, the process that it was established under through the town criteria. And Martini Mondays was taken pretty seriously. There's two different things going on here, and you've accepted the sign itself as backlit, but you're not accepting to the electronic messaging sign. But I find some of your information that you're comparing it to kind of disingenuous. You have a choice to look at this sign as you go by or not, either way. It doesn't matter whether or not it has an electronic messaging sign or not, because it probably doesn't have anything to do with you. It's just youth baseball. And also the garden center, right? So you can choose to ignore that sign just on your own choice. But the other aspect of it is, and I'll agree with you, by the way, relative to data. There's data, and you can twist it and use it to your advantage. But the one data point that I wouldn't argue with is the radius of candlelight power from the sign itself. So you can choose to look at that or not when you go by, right?
I don't believe so, no. When I'm walking by with my dog, how am I supposed to ignore, in this beautiful landscape, a sign that changes at me every 20 seconds when I'm walking by? No, sir, I don't agree.
Well, but you can not look at it, and you've been using...
So you want me to walk down the road and kind of go like this so that I
No, you
don't
don't
look
need
at the
to, but
property?
now you're being derogatory, and you're
mean-
indicating that this board was disrespectful to the public when it came down to Martini Mondays, which was not the case at all. But for you to say to me you're going to put your hand up as a blinder when you walk by the sign, what matters here is how much of an effect, and you started off with the data comparison about the distraction to traffic.
Mm-hmm.
So is it the distraction to traffic, or is it that you just don't like the sign? Is it that you don't like the electronic messaging sign because you see it to be an advantage to something that you really detest to be there to begin with, which in this case started out as a church?
No, it has nothing to do with that. It's actually the fact that there's data that suggests that it becomes a danger to traffic is also suggesting, I believe, that it's hard to ignore. I don't think that it's possible to just not see a sign while you're driving by it when it's lit up and changing. Humans notice things that are changing in their peripheral vision. That's part of being human. I mean, it's part of being, most animals notice things moving in their peripheral vision. Suggesting that when I drive by or walk by with my dog that I just not look at the sign, what I'm suggesting to you is the only way to not notice something moving or changing when it's in my vision field is to block it from my vision field. I'm not being derogatory. I'm saying, or I'm not saying it's derogatory. What I'm saying is that's literally the only way that a human cannot see something that is moving or flashing in their field of view. That's just how it works.
So if the electronic messaging sign had one message all day long, that would be okay with you?
All day long, the
All day,
same
one
message every
message.
single day,
Yep.
then it's just a backlit sign.
No, it's not.
It's not. It's an electronic messaging
If
sign.
it's the same
It's
sign
LED.
forever and always,
If it's an LED sign, yeah, it's not backlit.
I mean, your
I
argument...
think this is
your-
semantics, frankly.
But your argument is a distraction to traffic, and then you start talking about holding your hand up beside your head while you're walking your dog.
Yeah.
Is it about the traffic safety, or is it about you just not wanting to see an electronic messaging sign?
Why does it have to be one or the other when it's both?
Because what you're doing is you're sharing with us information, and it comes back to your comparison of the gas station sign down the road and the Martini Monday sign down the road. The questions that were asked as a fair and balanced aspect to the applicant to make sure that all aspects of this were considered.
Okay.
It's not a joke. I'm looking at a rural road that
Yeah.
intersects with a primary state road, but that sign that's at the Citgo station between Derry and Hampstead falls just under that aspect where the zoning board of adjustment and the relief that it seeks or that applicants seek, it falls into that gray area, and that's why the questions were asked as they were asked. They weren't derogatory.
I think that what I was suggesting was derogatory was after I had talked about Martini Monday, the board kind of tittered at it and made jokes throughout the rest of the meeting.
Could I go right there, Mr. Roget? Because that's where I would actually like to stop it. So we started off with the disrespect, and I want to go back to that one. So you've been throwing out Martini Monday, the Martini Monday sign, since this day on June 5th. Martini Monday is one of maybe 20 ads that they have up there. You just referring to it as a Martini Monday sign is disrespectful in itself.
I referred
Hold
to
on
it
before
once,
I go.
sir.
I'm going to go through my list. I'll give it to you.
Sure.
Then we also had when you came up, and right off the bat, you understand the ZBA is made up of Derry townspeople. Like, we all live in town, we are your neighbors, one way or another. You came up and accused us of illegal practices because the planning board approved a use at the church, which had nothing to do with the zoning board. That was how you started off.
Okay.
So to say that we were at all disrespectful when you stood up and just berated us for something that we didn't do, I guess I'm confused. So there was plenty of respect shown your way to us, I suppose. And I apologize that by referring to it as Martini Monday, as you referred to probably no less than 12 times tonight, and I'd say 24 times last meeting, again, was very disrespectful on my part. But again, you brought it up so many times that you don't see that at the end. You got an apology out of me for voting yes on the sign.
I did,
But
and I appreciate
we
that.
disrespected you by joking about Martini Monday the whole time. So this is where I feel very disrespected, to be honest. That
Okay.
now I'm on hour 4 of this case, but all you're talking about is you being disrespected when you're kind of talking in circles, and I feel that you've been extremely disrespectful from the get-go.
Okay. I believe that I brought up the Martini Mondays as making a point in my first speech once, and my point is that it was latched on throughout the rest of the meeting. You're right. It was talked about many, many times during the meeting, not by me. I went and sat down.
Oh, no, I can go to each abutter who then brought up specifically as the Martini Monday sign.
Okay.
So to say that we were the ones bringing this up as a joke, again, it's just, I'm trying to think of the right word, but you're being disingenuous, to be frank. And a lot of what you're throwing out there is just spider webs. So you start with a study from Toronto to talk about a US highway study. How does a study in Canada have to do with the US highways? Those are
Because it
two
was
separate, those are two separate countries,
No,
studies on
sir.
different
No,
countries.
sir. This was
So
about
Toronto-
Texas highways.
Sure, Texas highways in
The
Toronto.
The University of Toronto, in
you
reference
please-
to the highways in Texas, they chose
Sure,
those
and
highways.
could you please send us this link so we can read this rather than getting, please, yeah,
Sure.
send this through code enforcement rather than me just getting your understanding. Thank you. We'll
Sure.
look at that one in the past.
Sure.
Again, I think I'm just kind of done. I just wanted to get to the disrespect and the Martini Monday sign, but I will promise I will never refer to it as Martini Monday because I think it's disrespectful to the East Derry Tavern, to be frank.
I do want to acknowledge, it was something that I went home after the meeting, and I was talking with my girlfriend, and I truly appreciated your apology, if you want to call it that, your acknowledgement that maybe that wasn't, in retrospect, a great decision, the sign down there. I truly appreciate that you guys acknowledged that maybe that wasn't everything you had hoped it had been, it could have been. So I do want to thank you for that.
So my point about if the digital messaging sign stayed and left the same message all day long, doesn't that eliminate what your concerns are about safety? You're acceptable to the pylon sign, just not the electronic messaging sign.
Correct. I've been saying that since the beginning, yes.
And so here's the rub, which is that these folks, relative to your concerns, safety concerns, are going to change that to 20 seconds from 7. So if it's 20 seconds or if it's 240 seconds, is there still a safety issue?
I don't know. I have no data regarding that.
If there's no safety issue, do you need to worry about seeing the sign when you're walking your dog?
Of course, yeah. It's a visual nuisance as well, which, again, I've been saying since the beginning.
So this is the problem, and this is why the questions about the Citgo gas station,
Yeah.
the Martini, I'm going to stop saying that, East Derry General Store,
Yeah.
in this, it's the questions are asked to try and figure out a common ground and
Yeah.
to see what is relevant and what is substantial as far as evidence goes to support a board's decision, okay? And it's concerned to anybody who lives on the road. And it's been hard to sort out, partially because I think the East Area General Store gets thrown into it. Because here's the difficulty. The building's been sold, the building's approved, the operation is approved, the horse is out of the barn. And what they're looking for is odd because of all of that I just mentioned. And so are we going to stymie them and push them out of business and have the same situation later because East Area General Store managed to get a sign that I didn't completely approve the whole thing. I was odd man out, but that happens. And so you're trying to find the balance to everything, every piece of property. And so we're taking the information that you're sharing with us, including doing this when you're walking your dog. It's hard to sort out and find the facts that serve everybody, including the current property owner.
Okay. I understand. I just, I would hope that it's taken into a high account that you've heard now from 26 people nearby who don't want this, in specific the electronic messaging center.
So don't go away. Mr.
Okay.
Burgess has a question. I'm going to go back to him. But just understand for the record that we haven't heard from 26 people. We've only heard from, I think, 3 or 4. But you've presented us with a petition with 26 names on it.
Okay.
Is that fair?
20.
20. something.
It's 20 names, plus you've heard from
Yeah.
6 people in person.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So I just want that clear for the record.
Sure.
Okay? All right. Mr. Burgess.
This is just one thing. It's, I understand his problem with the sign in some respects, because we all have peripheral vision. So when you're driving down the road, if something, flashes, sometimes it distracts you. But that's about it, But I understand what you're talking about with that.
And so to that point, Mr. Burgess, you've recognized that the applicant has said they're going to change their messaging
Yes.
from 7 to
Yeah.
20 seconds, right? Okay, good enough.
Seven, I guess the law is 6, the one down at the Citgo station, as far as I recall, right? 6 seconds on the illuminated signs? Normally.
Well, the town regulations saying not more than a change every 5 seconds.
5 seconds, okay.
Mr. Burgess, you realize the Citgo station I'm referring to is in
Yeah,
Hampstead?
okay. Yeah, I know, I
Oh,
understand that,
very
but
good, okay.
I'm just saying, the one downtown, the Cumberland Farms gas station.
Okay.
6 seconds is, 5 seconds, 6 seconds is a long time
Mm-hmm.
when you go from the corner to the sign and it doesn't change. So
Okay.
time is relevant. Some people think it's really quick, and it's not.
Got it. Mr. Roget, that's Roget, right?
Roger, yes.
I've taken you off of your presentation. You have the floor back to
I
complete your
had actually
thoughts.
just finished when you guys took me off, so I'm all set.
Okay.
Okay, thank you
Very
very
good.
much for
Thank
your
you.
time.
Anyone else, opposition? Good evening.
Evening. Jim Foley, 178 Hampstead Road. I live directly across from the property, and I have no interest in being confrontational tonight, so.
Sorry.
Could you?
We'll start at the first thing. When Jay came to my house several months ago with his plan for the property, I thought it made the best of a really bad situation that the church had stuck with us. And the fact that he did not need to come in front of the zoning board, and there was a planning board change, made it better, and I am appreciative of his efforts and what he's done there, and appreciative of the work that he's done there. Nonetheless, this solution, even though it may be the best of a bad situation, places a commercial property in the middle of a residential neighborhood. And an electronic sign, and I do have objections to electronic signs, no matter where they're located. I have one problem with the one at McGregor Library, I have one problem with the East Dairy Store, and I'll have a problem from one almost directly across my house, because it's not a matter that I can drive by it. I could always see the church sign from the room that I use as an office. So I'm opposed to an electronic sign. I'm opposed to this variance. I don't think it is necessary for them, or that they'll go out of business if they don't have the electronic sign. I think they have multiple ways of building their business besides the electronic sign. And it is so out of character, and it is so different from what we have down there. I just think that the board should vote against it. And when I look at the reasons for granting a variance, the only possible one that I can see is that there's a hardship that exists, is inherent in the land. And yes, the church, now the commercial nursery and baseball camp, does sit back from the road, but I don't think it's enough of a hardship to allow a variance to the town ordinance to place an electronic sign into a residential neighborhood. And yeah, it's not a matter of me doing this, it's not a matter of that sort of stuff. I have an electronic sign that I will be able to see directly from my house, as will my neighbors, the Davidsons. So that's why I'm here in opposition to the sign.
And when you say electronic sign, is that the pylon sign as a whole, or is it the individual signs that are mounted above every door on the building, or is it the electronic messaging sign?
It's the electronic messaging sign. I understand that, there's a sign there there was a sign there for the Holy Cross Church, which was flood lit. And as I said, I could see it, because the sight lines of where I live, I could see it. I understand that he needs some signage. I get that. It's going to be oversized, but it's static. That is the sort of thing for us will somewhat be acceptable, but it's the electronic messaging board that has a changing sign, whatever their frequency is, will be a distraction, a diminution to my value and to my peaceful use of my property.
Do you, have you seen the radial aspects in degree and candlelight effects from the messaging portion of this?
I am not quite sure what you're asking me. Did I hear what he said about how far it goes and how long?
This graph here.
Right.
Did you see that at all?
I fully understand that.
Okay.
And I understand that talk about the candlelight and it diminishes and that sort of stuff. I will tell you that if I could see the floodlit sign of the Holy Cross Catholic Church, I'll be able to see the electronic messaging board.
Okay. Mr. Burgess?
Is mic on? Are there streetlights on the road there?
There are streetlights on the road there. There's not a street light very
Okay.
close. There's a
Then-
street
then-
light where Olson Road
So
is.
basically, the road is, where you are is pretty much dark?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
so, all
No,
right.
specifically, yes. I'm sorry. Long answer, short question. There are no street lights around our houses.
Okay. So
Mr.
there,
Dietz?
see, the thing, I understand where, when you have light in your area, and you're not used to it, and you're gonna see it all the time,
Yeah.
pretty much, okay.
Mr. Dietzel, anything?
No, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mrs. Moran? Mr. Corbett, you all set?
Good for now, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Fuller.
you, Ms. Perkins.
Anyone else? Opposition? Good evening.
Good evening.
Ian, your name?
Jessica Cloutier.
Go ahead.
I've been bedbound and haven't been able to come in the last two meetings, so I needed to come in tonight to
Okay.
say what I needed to.
Could you give us your address, please?
Yeah, it's 164 Hampstead Road.
You're a direct abutter or
I don't think.
separated?
Separate, I don't know what you guys consider.
Well,
Direct.
direct means you're right against the property line, or you're not. Okay,
Or
go ahead.
across the street.
I have no problem with the signs, other than the electronic messaging sign. Our area, particularly why we bought in that area, is because it's residential, there's not businesses, they're farmland, and there's historical houses still around. Our house is from the 1830s, and that's why we moved to that area.
Rural character?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the East Area sign, we felt was, sorry,
Discolored that,
yeah.
okay?
And to add another one to that area, I just think would just do more harm. We were trying to get family and friends to move to the area, and they hear us saying about how things are changing. And like the sign, when they saw the East Derry sign, they were like, oh, I didn't realize you were moving in near casinos. And like, they just made jokes, like it's flashy, in your face kind of signs. And now that they know that we're having another one that may be going in like 30 seconds away from our house, they don't want to move to the area because they're worried if they invest in buying a house in Derry in that area now, what is it going to be down the road? And just,
Do you believe in hyperbole? People over-exaggerating or hearing something and building off of it without understanding the facts?
okay,
Not at all, or yes?
I guess.
And I'm not trying to put you in a pinch. I understand your point. How long have you lived at where you live?
7 years.
You've seen drastic change in traffic patterns, I'm sure. And I understand that. I tried to rush home tonight, took a different way, and it was worse than the normal traffic. I'd be happy when 4A opens, so I can get to my home easier. And Mr. Burgess has lived in town a long time. I've been in and around here since
30
1963.
years now?
What's that?
About 30 years?
30 years, yeah. I'm not consistent. I've been 91. So we've all seen these changes. And so I want to put this in proper perspective. So far, I mean, I'm hearing, I don't want to see this sign in the way that it's being described because of hyperbole, of people getting more anxious about it without understanding the facts. And this radial chart that's presented is familiar to me because I saw it when Parkland had their sign put on. Not that I remembered it until it was presented. So I guess I'm looking for more than your acquaintances, family, or relatives are concerned about a digital sign, as Mr. Foley described, a church that started and put a bad situation and trying to put a Band-Aid on it and find a careful balance. When I suggest those points to you, does that put a different perspective for you?
No, I think that they can run their business perfectly fine without the electric messaging sign. They can advertise on Facebook, anything like that. I don't think it's necessary to have the electronic messaging sign to advertise events and stuff.
And when you say electronic, are you meaning the messaging itself or the pylon sign altogether?
Just the electronic messaging. I just feel like it's too modern for that area.
Okay. Anybody else have any follow-up for Ms. Cloutier? Seeing nobody? Very good, thank you. Anyone else in opposition?
Yep.
Good evening, folks.
Hey, good evening. Will and Brenda Davison, 1 Wishing Well Lane. We're in opposition of the electronic sign. For reasons we've already discussed, I won't go in deep into it. I feel for you folks. And I feel for you because I think what I've heard is the fact that you've made a decision was made on the East Derry store, and another one comes up, it puts you in an awkward position as well. So I feel for the fact that it's not an easy decision for you folks to kind of work your way through the situation. I seriously don't want this in my backyard. Similar to Jim, maybe even more than Jim, I'll see that light and that sign on a daily basis, right through my backyard, right over to that driveway. I can see it 85% of the year. I'd have to say at least 85% of the year, I'm gonna have a sight to that flashing sign. I'm opposed to it. We did get a letter, last time we were here, we talked to our realtor, they gave us a letter, just kind of explaining that that, in her opinion, would probably drive our value down. One, already just the fact that that business is there, and two, having an electronic sign could likely deter buyers. And with that aspect, the more deterred buyers, you have to decrease your value to get it sold, so.
In a CMA or a market analysis on real estate, there's criteria that a real estate agent or a broker, like a broker price opinion, would consider. And how does, or maybe your realtor, he or she?
She.
How does she find this data versus your home, your square footage, the type of home it is, the age, repair, disrepair?
Because she's out selling houses every day.
Well, but what comparison does she use in this? Like,
I can't speak to how she came to her opinion,
Okay.
and she stated it as her opinion.
yeah, okay.
So it's an opinion. And you know what? Similar to the traffic opinion by both Jay and Andrew,
Mhm.
you can find an opinion on either side of this. So
Sure.
similar to several tries back when the homeless shelter wanted to move in, and they said, in many cases, it increases the value of your home,
Yeah.
which
Come on.
I almost fell on the floor. So we'll leave it at that.
You have a document you want the board to see. You only brought the one document?
We did,
Okay. You want to leave it for the record?
100%.
Okay.
Question prior.
Mr. Corbett will ask a question. We'll have you leave that with Ms. Owen, and we'll enter it into the file, okay?
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Corbett?
Yeah, piggybacking off Mr. Perkins' question, and I don't remember the exact wording of it, but could this opinion be similar to that from the realtor of a property that has like a pool? Because, you'd hear that if you're looking at a house with a pool, it's only something that someone with a pool would want, and it's really a deterrent to anybody who doesn't want a pool.
Well,
don't
you'd
know.
have to read her letter. I don't know.
I don't know about that, because a pool you can get rid of. This is totally different than that opinion, because once this sign goes in, it's there, right? I have no control over it. But if somebody wanted to buy my house and they didn't like the pool, I could fill it in, or if it was an above-ground pool, I could get rid of. Once this sign goes into place, it's done.
Or they're looking at two houses, and ours already has the traffic, and now you've got this big electronic sign and a business. It's in our backyard. Which house are they gonna pick?
So,
They're gonna go with the other house that doesn't have those things.
Possibly, and I'm not
Most
saying
likely,
it
yes.
as an argument. That was just a thought that I threw out there.
no, it's a good thought, but I think that the analogy, the pool you can get rid of, this is a business, somebody else owns it, you can't do anything about
I
it.
feel like you guys don't take our perspective
I
and
think
look
so.
at it our way at all, because whenever we say anything, it's like,
Mr. Chairman?
I just feel
No,
like.
and I don't
think he's
mean
gathering
for you to feel that it's confrontational. It's more of you state it, we almost have to give you some type of rebuttal back.
I mean,
You
we've been
can't
there
all-
22 years. It's,
Yeah, and
this is a big deal to us.
And I'm saying it as completely as a respectful manner, that anything that's really brought up, we almost have to give a rebuttal rather than a yes or a no with a
Okay.
rubber stamp either way. It's almost just the devil on the other shoulder. Well, what about this side of it? Have we thought about it from this avenue? The only other comment I had, and it was really just a comment, Mr. Roger's article, and I think the article that was presented to us, were both peer-reviewed articles. I think they carry a bit more weight than opinion, just a matter of semantics, and not arguing either one of the articles versus each other. Just wanted to say that to the record. It's just something internally that, after having the peer-reviewed things beat into me for so long, I just felt I had to state that one.
Sure.
But I do not want you guys to think that anything you
I
were
mean,
saying is not being
I
taken
respect what
to
she's
heart.
saying, because she's out doing this every day. This is her job. I don't-
Well, for me, it just keeps coming back to the radius of how much you're going to see. And I think that in addressing Ms. Cloutier, there's this hyperbole, and yes, you drive down the road and you might see East Derry General Store sign, and it stands out, doesn't it?
Well,
It
I'll look out my living room.
Except that
We're
the
gonna see
candlelight
this.
of this
Whoops.
is substantially different. But the pylon sign probably is brighter than the digital electronic sign. And so that's where the balance comes in, right? People they're okay with the pylon sign, they're not okay with the messaging sign. But I think of probably 4 different signs that this board has approved in this light. What stands out more is the stand and the everything that surrounds the electronic messaging sign, not the message. And I can drive by and I see the Parkland entrance every day, at least twice, if not 4 or 5 times. And I rarely look at the electronic message on it.
I read
Except
it
that
regularly.
when it falls into a political philosophy, and I'm looking at, have we improved healthcare in our nation, and know how long it's going to wait if I have to go to the emergency room. That's the only time that I look at it, okay? So that's the rub. For me, that's the rub. I can't
Well,
speak
for
for
me, I
everyone.
would rather not have a
I'm
big-
sorry?
big backlit sign, but
Ms. Jim?
if we have to do the sign, I would prefer not to have at least the electronic part of it.
Yeah.
I mean, you
Okay.
look out my living room, it's there. My back deck is right there.
My point is, I think you're gonna see the pylon more than you're gonna see the message. Because from an angle, you're not going to see the message. And that's my point about the Parkland sign is,
You know, the distance, won't be able to read that message, but I'll know that it's flashing every 20 seconds. I'll see that flash. You know, it'll flip,
okay.
I think it's just gonna be a distraction to me and sitting in my own living room.
I get it. Well, I think that the back and forth that you hear from the board and the questions show that there's a balance of thought going on here.
Sure.
okay? Mr. Burgess has asked for a question, and then Mrs. Moore.
Yeah, and then I got one last thing to end on.
Okay. When the church was there, the illumination of that, the St. Holy Angels Parish, was floodlit. Was that a problem with you?
That was 20 feet further back
Okay.
than where this sign is gonna
Uh-huh.
be sitting.
Yep.
And
So what
it was a
what-
stagnant, small light on the ground, facing, and that sign is low to the ground.
Yeah.
And no, it didn't necessarily bother me.
Okay.
Similar to the fact that the sign that he'll have with a backlit is probably not gonna bother me as much either. I feel for you, because I just see that East Derry store, and I just don't think that doesn't belong there. Why make, there's already one wrong mistake that feels like, a couple of you felt remorse over it now. Why do it twice? That's my only point. Why do it again?
It was a different kind of sign, similar to, if it was lit by floodlights and it was not illuminated internally out, would there be a difference?
I think we covered that, and I
No, I
said no.
don't think we haven't got that far yet. We haven't
So
gone,
I said whether it's a floodlight up on the ground flashing, or, lighting up,
just two
two floodlights up to
on
it,
either
or if
side.
it's backlit, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I don't want the flashing sign.
Right, okay.
Okay, very good. You all set, Mr. Burgess?
Yeah.
Okay, Mrs. Moore?
I have a quick question. You had stated that 85% of the year that you would see it. What is covering it, the other 15%?
Trees and
with
leaves.
Okay.
Once the leaves are gone, our backyard is completely open.
All set, Ms. Moore?
Yep.
Okay, Mr. Corbett?
Yeah, just one last comment for Mrs. Davidson. I do apologize. I'm not coming across warm and friendly, the last few meetings, and I recognize that. I apologize for that in general. It's not something I typically like coming across as. I try to take pride in how friendly the board normally is. The last 2 cases that have come for this property in particular, I fought extremely passionately on behalf of all of the citizens in that neighborhood. So just to the comment of, I wish you wouldn't dismiss everything that we're saying, I'm not. I don't think the board is. And I would trust that you will remember those meetings as
I
well.
do.
And the people
I
who
do. I just
really,
feel
you
like-
know, as people went with it,
Yeah.
to Mr. Perkins' point, this is a much different scenario today. We are looking at a sign, but nothing that's being said, none of the questions that are being sent back, and as I look down, I'm just looking at the sign, none of the questions that are being sent back are meant to be, and I recognize I'm coming off adversarial, they're not meant to be that way. They're not meant in any disrespectful way. You know, we try to do what's best, you know, for the town, you know, for the people within the general area as well as the town. You know, that's really how I try to look at each case.
I
Just
mean,
wanted
it's-
to end it with
it's
that one.
hard for us. I mean, we've been there 22 years, we bought, and now it's changing into something that we didn't necessarily want.
Okay.
But,
All
thank you.
folks, you all set?
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, very good, thank you. Anybody else opposition? Anybody out there, Mr. Provencher?
Seeing none, arise, Mr. Chair.
Very good. Gentlemen, if you'd like to come back up and rebut, I think we're all set on, we've heard the input from the public. You have the motions.
Two of them. Oh, Mr. Carter.
Okay.
He took the
Sorry.
long road.
Mr.
You
Cart,
must not have seen me get up.
I thought you were going to the bathroom,
What's that?
but go ahead,
Oh, thanks.
in all the excitement.
All right, Tom
Your
Carden,
address?
Tom Carden, 2 Cunningham Drive. I've lived in the East Area for 35 years. I go by that, I go by that site every day, almost, and I'm very much opposed to the electronic sign. You know, it's a rural area. You know, it's got neighborhoods all around it, and, you know, I especially feel bad for the people who are abutters who live there, who are gonna have to deal with this sign all the time. I can't see me going by there and not looking at it. I just can't see that. And, you know, I think that, you know, one of the bigger issues here is that, you know, to keep the, you know, to keep the character of the neighborhood. You know, this business has moved into to a residential area and then expects to, you know, put a big blinking sign up, and, you know, I'm just opposed to that. You know, I just think they should be a good neighbor and, you know, keep the sign there low key. I agree they need something for the sign. I've got no problem with that. But I'm against the electronic sign.
Very good, okay. Anything else?
Nope.
Anybody all set with Mr. Carden? Very good, thanks,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Carden. Folks, opposition, you're all set? Gentlemen.
Thank you.
Yep.
I'll try to be brief. I know you guys have been dealing with this for quite some time. So I just wanted to key in on and answer a few of those questions that the abutters had. One question from the first abutter is that I presented myself incorrectly with the message board that I had in Wyndham. I never indicated that it was an electronic board. I even indicated that it didn't get changed as often because it's close. It didn't get changed as often as we would like, but we did get changed on some cases because it's close to the road. So I never indicated that. I just want to make sure that's clear. I've been in Wyndham too my entire life, like a lot of folks here in different towns. You know, I've been in Derry for a long time. I've seen the progression of Wyndham, like everyone's seen the progression of Derry too. I was a Wyndham resident when there was one flashing light. So I see the progression. My father moved here in the late 50s from Medford because he saw what Medford was becoming, a suburb of Boston, wanted to get out of there and get up to Wyndham. And then when he retired, he went to Bristol. So everyone the progression is coming. I mean, we all see that. I'm sure anyone that, the abutters that came up here, even the one that's just been here 7 years, has seen a drastic change. Like I think you mentioned, Mr. Chair, in just that time. Mr. Burgess, I'm sure, in East Area, you've seen that change. I've been there just for some time working on that property. It's a busy road. It's got to be 10,000 plus traffic on that road. I know we're speaking of it as a residential area. It is a residential zone. I agree. It is 100%. You see it on your map. But a neighborhood where I am, I wouldn't say I'm in a neighborhood. We're on a major road going that connects East Derry to Derry. So the nice neighborhood setting that I'm in, I don't feel as though I'm that. We're surrounded by some neighborhoods. I agree with that 100%, but that's a fairly main road. One of the abutters mentioned that they would see the sign 85% of the time. I'd have to disagree on that. I'm pretty good with trees. We own a nursery. I have a pretty good idea what's going on there, and the vegetation is you know, April, you know, late March, early April through, October, and so that's, and if you stood out there right where that sign is now, you can't see a soul. I took pictures and so forth. I don't believe they were presented to you, but if you drove by, I'm sure you did. Nothing can be seen from that sign for this time of year. I agree 100% with the studies. Yes, studies, you can go on the internet tonight and look up the wrong thing and feel as though you're not going to make it by the end of the night if you go onto WebMD, and you can find studies for everything, just like I could have come in here with 25 signatures from people saying that they would love an electronic reader board on that road. When I was presented at the planning board, I had over 15 folks that had signatures in my behalf, some prominent Derry residents that have been here, some people came and spoke on my behalf, and I could do the same. I came here to speak as a good neighbor to everyone here. I didn't do that, but certainly, like we all agree, for every person that signs one could sign another. I've made concessions so far on this sign for sure. Even just the illuminated portion of the sign, I've agreed that will go off at my closing time. It would only go on during times of darkness. Summer, it doesn't get to dark until 9 o'clock. It might never go on in the months of July and August. During the times where you have shorter, it will go on from dusk till my closing. So I've already conceded on that. I'm not asking for the sign to be on all night, any of these signs. One last concession, and I was speaking because it can be just adjusted. I have no problem doing that because I know there's a concern of folks potentially walking by the sign and seeing that. This concern of, even addressing the safety concern and the changing. I'm looking to get my message out to the public for the reasons I stated earlier. Mr. Burgess, I think you drive that road you probably pass by me 2-3 times a day, okay? The chances of you seeing that sign at a 20-second change when you go by is limited. You might see one message. I would be happy to offer the board that I would only change the sign every 5 minutes. I'm just looking to get messages out there daily. I have no issue changing the sign making it a 5-minute change. So we're not talking about flashing signs every 7, 20, 15, 5 minutes. I have no problem with that. So to some of the abutters' comments of they don't oppose a stagnant sign, that's as close of a stagnant sign as you can get with a 5-minute change. You have anything?
The only thing I'd say is that the second abutter was very gracious in his comments. He was talking about the Holy Cross sign. The Holy Cross sign is basically parallel to the road, so he's looking at the face of that sign. This sign is 90 degrees to the road, so all he sees essentially is the side of the sign. So that was a comment that I wanted to raise there. The other thing is that people talk about the sign flashing. They don't flash. We are not. There's no flashing. There's no movement. There's no. The transition is immediate, just like that video that we produced showed.
Anything else, gentlemen?
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Don't step away yet. Hearing your concessions. Sign message to change once every 5 minutes.
Correct.
No.
I had already offered to have the sign only on during business hours during darkness, so that's not really new, but was a concession the prior meeting.
You had some odd business hours there, as I recall, we had quite a discussion about your business hours. I had it noted somewhere. Does anybody recall that?
7 a.m. to 9 p.m.
Yeah.
Was that seasonal?
For the nursery, yes, it is.
Winter hours were 9 to 3, was that correct?
The winter hours for the nursery business is 9 to 3, correct.
And is it your suggestion that your message sign would follow those opening hours?
Will it follow the opening hours of either business? The baseball business is open later, the sports business is open later.
I understanding that
Yes,
in
that's
winter
correct.
you'd be 9 to 3, that
Correct.
message sign goes off.
In the winter? No, because the baseball still will be
Yeah.
open.
I was going to say that.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
May I read, so
Yep.
in the addendum that was provided, they listed concessions they're willing to make. May I read these in case we didn't see them? So what we had was, this is the words of the applicant, we also agree to make the following changes. The hours of operation of the message center will be from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. daily. The sign portion will light during hours of darkness where they occur between 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. The message will change without any transition effects, and we will reduce the frequency of message, and obviously this one's changing now, but we will reduce the frequency of messages from the 5 seconds required to 20. And then there was just a note about that at 35 miles an hour, a car travels 51 feet per second. That means most cars will pass the sign in 3 seconds. Given a viewing distance of 150 feet, very few cars notice the sign changing at 20 seconds. Just wanted to read those 4 in. You have to write any.
All right, so I'm trying to get an understanding of what the applicant has established as his time that he would, because he's altered from this.
Well, this is from today. This is the addendum that was provided for today's meeting.
Right, but he suggested that he would change his message every 5 minutes.
Right, that part. So I noted that part, but I think the hours that we were discussing, they had noted the 7 to 9, and then during darkness, hours of darkness between 7 and 9.
7 a.m. to 9 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
It's in the meeting minutes from last meeting.
Yeah.
It's on the page just before the statistical analysis.
Somebody want to give me some input, gentlemen? My head's starting to spin here, and I just want to make sure I understand, because we're going to go into deliberative, and we're going to discuss this either tonight or the next meeting. And we're going to work through the details of it. Of course, you know that the motions are always structured in affirmative, and once we go into deliberative, I don't want to break protocol and come back to you.
I understand that, yeah.
So I want to clarify and understand what it is that you're talking about with your hours of operation of the sign or the electronic messaging sign.
Yes.
Relative to the hours of operation.
So I can clarify that for you.
Yes, please.
So the message center will operate from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. daily.
And is that your intention all year round?
Correct.
Okay.
The sign portion will light during the hours of darkness when they occur between 7 a.m. and 9 p.m. So for example, if it gets light at 5 in the morning, the sign is not going to turn on.
I see.
The lit part of the static sign. The other conditions that we agreed to were the message will change without any transition effects. That means it will change abruptly from one message.
Going from the 65 square feet to 59,
Correct, yes.
Mr. Corbett, you think we have clarification here, all right?
I do. I'll provide
Thank you.
more info to help.
Could you read that back to me on the hours of operation, please? Mr., or,
Want me to read it to you?
yes,
What will
if
be
you
on the?
would, and I want to make sure that the motion, the structure on it is what the applicant understands before we privatize our conversations.
Okay, there'll be 4 conditions. The one is always the subject to obtaining all state and town permits and inspections. And then the second will be the hours of operation of the message center will be from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. daily. The third is the sign portion will light during hours of darkness where they occur between 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. And the fourth is that the frequency of messages will, hold on, I'm trying to reword it. The frequency of messages will be every 5 minutes.
Gentlemen, that's the, our understanding of what your concessions are. Is that about accurate?
That's accurate.
Correct.
Okay, very good. That being said, if there's nothing else from the board, we can take a motion to go into deliberation.
I'll make the motion to go into deliberative session.
Mr. Burgess makes a motion. Could I have a second, please?
I'll second.
Mr. Dietzel seconds. All in favor of deliberation, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. First and foremost, are we all set to, I presume everyone has enough facts that they're ready to make a decision or not? You are. Ms. Moran?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Corbett? Okay. So we have two motions, and one is for the variance to allow the installation of 3 building signs totaling 43.1 square feet. Does anybody on the board have opposition to that signage or wish to speak to it? Mr. Corbett?
No, I think the 3 signs on the building, that seemed to have been met with understanding, I think, by the board last meeting. All of the conversation's been surrounding the signs on the street. I have no issues with the signs on the building. I think they're necessary.
Ms. Moran, anything on that?
No, I agree with what was stated.
Okay. Gentlemen, Mr. Burgess, Mr. Dietzel?
Yep, they're fine.
Thank you.
Okay. So we'll pass on from that, and we'll get to the elephant in the room here. You know, that one, of course, is going to be subject to inspections and permits, so on and so forth. And I think that the signs over the doors, especially because of the conversion of the building, certainly make sense, directional-wise. Now we get into the pylon sign. It's been reduced from 65 to 59 square feet. I think reflecting on the prior meeting, there was concern from residents, mainly in the light of their disagreement with how this use was approved, that somehow there could be some nefarious usage implemented at some later time. And I think I applaud the applicants for taking that to be determined aspect of that sign off of the pylon sign. Anybody wish to speak to that at all? Address it? No, okay. Moving on in the checklist, you know, we have the situation where we have a comparison of an existing, I would say, prosperous business that is in a delicate part of the community, and it's being compared to this application here as this is what we're going to trend through the community going forward all the way down Hampstead Road to Route 121 in Hampstead. The reality to that is that I don't see that happening regardless of the decision of this board in this particular case, and as we know by statute, one vote is not a precedence for another. Each individual case is looked at based on the merits of that case and balanced thought from this board relative to the pieces that are portrayed either by the applicant, the abutters, or within the board itself. Does anybody wish to comment on the idea that this approval would automatically generate more approvals of electronic digital signs, perhaps on mailboxes down Hampstead Road?
No, I agree with what you stated.
Very good. Mr. Burgess?
I pretty much don't like the sign mostly because of what it is and the lighting of it. I was thinking we might have some other types of signs that they may have.
So is it to say that you don't like the pylon sign or the electronic messaging sign, or which is it?
A little bit of both.
Okay. And is your opposition to this pylon sign in entirety?
Correct.
Okay.
I don't think it's in the, best interest of the public.
So most of the public has said their opposition is to the electronic digital sign, not the pylon sign. But you're going out on your own on this in opposition to the pylon sign in general.
I think it's just too large for the area.
Very good. Mr. Dietzel?
I agree with Mr. Burgess. I have a tough time with the spirit of the ordinance. One of the abutters stated it was too modern. Well, okay. And then she compared it to a casino. And that may be, in your words, hyperbole, perhaps, but it's a point well taken. And the character of the neighborhood, I just don't think it supports such a large sign. And certainly the electronic aspect of it, I think, just is not within the character of the neighborhood or or observe the spirit of the ordinance.
So in the interest of commerce, and of course, these individuals have invested in this building, you are totally opposed to the pylon sign itself?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Mr. Corbett?
It's a tough one. I think, as I've mentioned, I've had a tough time, with a lot of the uses for this property that have been brought before the board. I think that, to be perfectly frank, even though, knowing the history of the church, I would argue the church in the area went against, all 5 criteria. To leave that area there, it created this on the whole. So to now have something in that's already, it's outside of what fits. And it's a situation that was kind of created because churches can go in anywhere. As I mentioned, one of the other cases surrounding this property, I think that a church going in any area works in a city. Like when you see in Massachusetts and they have the church in the middle of that road in Cambridge, that's kind of a main road anyways. It was just how everything was built up. To put a church on this street in the first place was completely out of place. To now have an abandoned church there for years, very difficult. So the decision was made to put the businesses in. I think it's great. I do think it's a good use overall for the town. The sign on the whole, I don't disagree that it's large, and it is, but also where it's placed and what's on it for the most part doesn't jump out at me as something, outwardly offensive. I do think it's required to kind of draw the eyes in. The electronic messaging sign is obviously where I'm stuck between a rock and a hard place. I like the concessions that were made. I like the studies that were provided. I like seeing the candle test, and honestly, the work that's been put in for it. As we know, just to be perfectly frank, I had my wrist slapped at the public level, over a vote in the past, which I felt was a bit out of line. And because of that, I am having a tough time. But on the whole, I think I can see the necessity for it. I get questions a lot, and again, this isn't just thinking the community, right? These guys are a competition. To be perfectly frank, they're a competition to the rec league that I coach in. Our best players, they want to play on a travel team. They want to do that. I lose pitching because of it. So. And I don't say this to be cynical or anything, but them failing obviously helps my 9-year-olds because I get better talent back on my team. But with that, I get questions from people that their kid wants to learn to pitch and that we can only show them so much. Who do I recommend? And I don't know where to send them, because I don't have that Rolodex available to me. Seeing a sign that's advertising pitching or hitting lessons to the town, that is a benefit. And I heard the comment, you can search for it on Facebook, but if you don't know what exactly the company to search for, it's not going to jump out at you, whereas this now tells you who to look for. So I'm stuck, honestly, between the two.
So what I was thinking about earlier is there could be a different type of sign. I mean, you should need signage for anything, okay, when you got a business, and I understand that. I'm not opposed to signage. I'm just opposed to the type of sign it is. If it looked more to the character of the area, more like a rustic type or a wooden sign with lights on the sides, that might be more durable, more
But I feel
acceptance. And you can make a sign that has both of those things on there, but just not so large.
But I think where I also get, speaking so I don't get yelled at, where
He's gone.
where I get confused too is that, no, sorry, I meant Owen. We didn't give them that opportunity. And the board is starting to, I feel that we've done this a few times lately, and it's a concern of mine, honestly, for the board on a whole, where we're bringing items up in deliberation that should have been questioned to the applicant ahead of time. This happened last meeting, this is happening tonight, where now we get to deliberative, and I have an issue with what's being presented, but I didn't ask any of these questions. And
No,
that, we got to be careful with that one. And we almost went to the manual words and even said we haven't gotten there yet. We never went there. So to now bring that up in deliberative, that I'd rather
Well,
see
I
that.
thought- I thought that was one of the questions we asked. Are there any other kind of signs you could use when we asked the question originally?
Well, so understand, and Mr. Mackey, I'll reference to you as you're the initiator of this, this headache, which is that the way that we've already broken this down into two motions, one for the building, one for the pylon sign. But I would defer to you that on the charge, essentially, if this board votes down the pylon sign with the electronic messaging center, the door is still open for the applicant to come back and just ask for a pylon sign without the messaging center. That's not double, two bites of the apple, am I correct?
No, I would consider something like that would be a substantial change that would allow the applicant to come back.
And I don't know if that's where Mr. Corbett's going or not, that we didn't vet that out. We can always break protocol, we can always retable again, which I don't want to do, but in the event of making a proper decision, you can always revisit that question again. But I'm hearing from Mr. Dietzel and Mr. Burgess that immaterial to that, you're not in favor of this, even though the direct abutters have said they don't have a problem with the lighted sign.
I don't know if that's accurate, because from what I've heard from most of them is they're not particularly fond of the pylon sign, period. But they do oppose vigorously oppose the sign at the bottom, the digital sign, you know?
Okay.
But I think they are pretty much the same view as I've got on it,
All right, Mr.
from
Dietzel?
what I've heard, anyways.
Yeah, I have the same feeling. I think a non-electronic sign would be palatable. And I just want to mention what Mr. Corbett said. I agree that there's a danger when we bring up topics without addressing the applicant first. That was a point well taken. And I was going to bring up my concern with them, but then as I recall, those issues were discussed at the previous meeting. So I just didn't want to rehash that. Am I misremembering?
I'm not sure.
Okay, but
Well,
Okay.
you're right, Mr. Corbett, that's a,
Mrs. Moore, Mr. Corby, you all set for right now? Mrs. Moran, you have anything you wish to bring forward?
I may be the odd person out. I feel like everything that an abutter has said they've tried to work with and improve the conditions that they're willing to do. The changing every 5 minutes, I don't think it's gonna be as noticeable, because they said the safety issue. I just feel that we're willing to change a lot, that at what point is it all or nothing?
Okay. Well, I think I've made my point clear, which is that this is the application, the application in the second part, which was our main discussion point that we've heard the most from the abutters on. This is an adjoined application, so you've got the pylon sign with the electronic messaging center. I feel favorable to the concessions, and my own reference is that the electronic messaging sign is not going to be as distasteful as I think as I've heard the abutters speak of. And understanding the comparison that they saw down the road, I just happen to think the lighted pylon sign is going to outcast the messaging center.
That, and I've never made a sign in my whole entire life. I would think that the ones that are backlit, the white, you'd be able to see a lot further, and if the electric messaging center sign, from what I see, that one is black, to go with your point.
Okay. Well, let's affirm the structure of the motions, unless somebody else has anything they'd like to add. We have the first part, which is for the buildings, very little discussion with that. I think everybody's on the same page there. And let's reiterate the motion, the structure of this motion. Mrs. Moran, if you would, please.
For this second one?
Yes.
It is the subject to obtaining all state and town permits and inspections. Number 2 is the hours of operation of the message center will be from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. daily. 3, the sign portion will light during hours of darkness where they occur between 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. And the 4th is the frequency of messages changing on the electric message center portion of said sign shall not change less than every 5 minutes.
All right. Anybody have any additions there? Do you wish to separate the electronic messaging center from this? No. Okay. Very good. Motion structured, and if we are all set, we can take a motion, come out of deliberation, please.
I'll make a motion.
Mrs. Moran has that motion. Could I have a
I'll
second?
second.
Mr. Dietzel has a second. All in favor of coming out of deliberation, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. All right, so we have a motion to read. Mrs. Moran.
I make a motion on case number 25-113 for Bird Enterprises to grant a variance to the terms of Article 12, Section 165-101.11 of the Town of Derry zoning ordinance to allow the installation of a 59-square-foot pylon sign, which will include a 15-square-foot electronic message center sign. Parcel ID 10012, zoned LMDR, as presented with the following conditions. We have 4. 1, subject to obtaining all state and town permits and inspections. 2, the hours of operation of the message center will be from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. daily. 3, the sign portion will light during hours of darkness where they occur between 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. And 4, the frequency of messages changing on the electronic message center portion of said sign shall not change less than every 5 minutes. And that concludes the reading of the motion. I need a second.
I'll second it.
Mr. Burgess seconds that motion. That motion sits for now. Could we read into the record the second
one I should've read
motion,
first.
please?
You're the first.
I make a motion on case number 25-113 for Bird Enterprises to grant a variance to the terms of Article 12, Section 165-101.1 to allow the installation of 3 building signs totaling 43.1 square feet, parcel ID 10012, zoned LMDR, as presented with the following conditions. We have 1, subject to obtaining all state and town permits and inspections, and that concludes the reading of the motion. I need a second.
I'll second it.
Mr. Burgess has a second on that. We'll go to finding of fact, and that second motion that was read will be the first that we vote on. Mr.
Mr. Chairman, we haven't gone on to deliberative, have we?
yes, we
Yes, it
have.
is.
Yeah, I
Um,
motioned
You
it.
and I were talking.
Okay.
And now let's go to finding of fact, please, Mr. Corbett.
Yes, I have a combined finding of fact for case 25-113. The board found that the applicants are requesting 2 variances to install a 59-square-foot pylon sign, which will include a 15-square-foot electronic message center sign, and 3 building signs totaling 43.1 square feet. The applicant's currently converting this former church into a youth-oriented baseball training facility and a nursery for retail and wholesale sale of plants and landscaping supplies. This project has received site plan approval from the planning board. The property is located in the low-medium density residential zoning district. The proposed uses are permitted by right in the district. However, the sign regulations contained in the zoning ordinance for residential zoning districts only address residential use and do not address permitted non-residential uses. Therefore, the applicants were advised to apply for variances regarding the size and number of signs, as well as the request to install an electric message center sign. If approved, a condition that the electronic message center sign operates in accordance with section 165-101-11 and with an appropriate sign permits will be required. The board also includes all facts found in the meeting minutes for this application and incorporates all meeting minutes into its finding of facts and decisions. Does anybody on the board have any addendums or updates to make?
Changes? Seeing no gestures, very
And
good.
Mr. Chair, and I apologize for kind of breaking protocol, but back to any other conditions that we want to add. For the one that we will go with first, of the pylon sign, including the electric message center sign, comment that was made earlier, once you open that box, it can go away. The pool can be covered up. You can get rid of the pool, but once the sign is there, it's there forever.
Yep.
Obviously in honor of Mr. Mackey's last day, what better opportunity to put in a sunset clause that in the event that the property is sold or no longer under ownership of Bird Enterprises, however we draft this, if it's not Delahunty and NEA, the electronic message sign also vacates the property.
Very good. So the board would amend the 59-square-foot pylon sign to indicate that the variance shall be discontinued. Help me out there, Mr. Corbett,
What, oh,
on that variance to be discontinued.
If the use of the premise changes, or ownership changes, if the use or ownership
And
changes.
this would be condition number 5.
yes.
Very good, amended, discontinued. If the property is sold, right?
Yeah, or the uses change.
Mrs. Wilson, you have that noted?
I do.
Oh, thank you very much. If I forget, just whisper in my ear, please.
Yeah, apologies for just thinking of that.
Hey.
Or use changed. Okay. Very good, thank you. All right, good enough. On the, all in favor of moving these motions for a vote, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none. Relative to the 3 building signs totaling 43.1 square feet, Mr. Corbett, how do you vote?
Yes.
And Mrs. Moran,
Yes.
Mr. Burgess,
Yes.
Mr. Dietzel,
Yes.
and the chair will make that motion unanimous. In regards to the second motion regarding the 59-square-foot pylon sign with the electronic message center, Mr. Corbett,
Come back to me, Mr. Chair.
Mrs. Moran,
Chair, I vote yes.
okay? Mr. Burgess,
I'm going to vote no. I think the variance will be contrary to the public interest, the spirit of the ordinance, and also the value of surrounding properties.
okay, very good. Diminution of properties, Mr. Dietzel,
No.
okay? Care to elaborate, sir?
It is contrary to the spirit of the ordinance.
Okay, very good. Mr. Corbett?
No, I'm wrestling with it. I think overall, it serves a use for the greater community. I think with the concessions made, looking at the lighting map, I feel better about this than I did even 2 weeks ago. I'm going to vote yes.
Okay, very good. So tiebreaker is to me, and I would say that based on the radiance and the candlelight reflections, which I'm familiar with, even though reminded about, I will support the application in this regard, so that's a yes from the chair. The application passes by a vote of 3-2. So my congratulations to the applicant. Of course, you have 30 days. Anyone aggrieved by this decision has 30 days to ask this board for reconsideration. After that, recourse would be to the Superior Court.
I'm gonna get my notes.
Okay, very good.
Congrats.
Have a good evening.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. 1 West Everett Street. Let's go over here.
Both.
There's this one here.
Next case up is case number 25-114. Thank you for your patience. Come right up here to the dais. 25-114, which would be Kenya Liriano. Good evening. You are looking for a special exception, correct?
Yes,
All right, so we ask you that you read the application that you provided, check marks that you wrote.
yes, I do not have the application.
Okay. Ms. Owen, can you help her out with that? Do you need that back, Mrs. Owen, for your file? Okay, very good.
Sorry about that. I need to read the whole thing, correct?
Well, we need you to speak into the microphone.
I need to read the whole thing, correct?
You do. What you've written for us, you need to
Yeah, so
express.
all of 1 through 9, you can just read right in.
Oh, number 9, all
Yeah,
the 9.
1 through 9, yep.
I mean, for entertainment purposes, we could have her read the warranty deed,
Well,
right?
I don't think you're like that.
All right, good enough. You have the floor.
Right, my name is Kenya Liriano, and forgive my reading. I guess I'm not good at the English-speaking language, but I will do my best. Number 1, the applicant claims the dwelling unit as his legal resident. It's yes. I purchased my home on April 2022. If I'm doing it wrong, please correct me. The proposed home business will not be injured, noxious, or offensive to the neighborhood by reason of emission of odors, fume, dust, smoke, vibration, noise, or other cause. No, it will not be. Number 4, the home business will be conducted within the residential structure or other existing structure will not exceed 25% of the finished living area of the dwellings. No, it will not exceed the 25% of my home. The home business use will not change the residential character of the wilderness of the property. No, it will not. No more than 1 signs of other advertising device will be displayed on the property, and it will not exceed 3 square feet in surface area. The answer is no. Number 7, no more than one person not residing in the dwelling unit will be employed on the premises, on the premises at the same time. Total number of non-residents employee is no. And number 8, sufficient off-street parking will be provided for the employee, clients, and customer. Where lot size permit, the parking will not be provided within 25 feet of the front lot line, none within the 10 feet of the side or area lot line. No, it will not be, yes, it will be provided parking space for the clients. And number 9, no more than one home business use will be conducted on the property. No, it will not be.
The parking?
Parking?
Yes.
We accommodated, we have 2 parking spaces, one on the left and one on the right. We accommodated the one on the left side to 6 cars at the same time. And the one on the right is being accommodated for at least 2 or 3.
Okay. You're not having any employees?
My daughters, it will be my assistant.
Okay. Just the one?
I'm sorry?
Just the one?
Yes, my oldest one for now.
Does she live with you?
Yes.
Okay. So this is a daycare, correct?
Yes, sir.
And the age range, my recollection,
I believe the state's allowed from age 3 to kindergarten and after school.
is that 3 to 5 years of age?
Yes, 3 to 5, and after school, I believe it goes up to 10 years old.
Do you understand the ratios by the agencies that would be responsible for your license? And
Can you elaborate that for me a little bit?
is Mrs. Owen or Mr. Mackey? Who's Ms. Owen? What's the licensure on this? Is there from the state?
Yes, I'm
Be through
sorry.
the state, yeah, the state and the fire department would determine or permit the quantity of children based on square footage.
Okay.
And they have a lot, they're pretty good. Up in the state, because I have 900 million kids, I'm familiar with daycares, and they're really strict, and they do surprise visits, and
Okay.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, it's here, the total number of children allowed is determined by the fire inspector's office and is based on the limitations of the 25% of the living space that's being utilized.
Thank you. How many children are you intending?
I'm sorry.
How many children are you intending to have? Or are you going to leave it to the authorities to determine?
Yes, I will limit that. I will leave that to the state to determine how many I'm allowed to have.
If they're only allowing 2, is that adequate for you to be able to operate under?
Yes.
And it could be 4 or 5, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm confident that I will be able to have as many.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, there
Mr.
was
Burgess?
one thing, I read the thing on this, on my telephone once, at the last meeting, and it said that she can have up to 10 children.
Depending on the authority of the license.
No, that's what the maximum, it says 10, but there's limited, the younger children, I think you can have
It's
2
3 months.
Under 2, yeah, something like that, and after that, there's another for 3 to 5.
it's
I think
per
that
an
was like
adult.
3 or 4.
The state guidelines would be per an adult, like 3 infants to 1
Yes.
person. They all have to have background checks.
Yeah, this is for one person. For one person daycare is allowed 10, as far as I recall
Oh, that's-
reading. Is that correct?
I wouldn't do that. I
Okay.
think that's too much responsibility from one person.
All right. Anybody else have any questions? Mr. Dietzel?
No, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Corbett?
Excuse me, no, special exceptions being different, it looks like the questions have been answered.
Okay. You all set, Mrs. Bourne?
Yes.
Mrs. Owen, would you like to give us some your impressions or ideas on this? Or do you want to defer to Mr. Mackey?
I'll gladly speak. Thanks, Chairman. So this property is located in the MHDR zoning district. They are seeking a special exception for home occupation to operate an in-home daycare, as we understand. It appears to meet some of the following conditions, to name a few. The applicant is the owner of the dwelling unit. The employees will reside at the residence. And again, it's limited to 25% of the finished living area. As previously stated, the state and fire department will permit the quantity of children allowed based on square footage. And inspections will also be required by the state, the fire department, as well as the health department.
Okay. And you're not currently operating, this is not something that you started
no,
to
no,
do?
no.
Very good. All right, so you were forthright.
If you count my 4 children, yes.
I'm sorry?
If you count my kids, then yes.
Yeah, okay, all right. Anybody have any questions for code enforcement? Very good. Let's make a call to public. Anybody out there who wishes to speak in favor of this application, this would be your opportunity now. And paralleling that, we have some phone numbers there posted for anybody who's remote that would wish to call in. Mr. Corbett, if you'd like to read those for the record.
Yes, anybody at home who wishes to dial in, you're going to dial 646-558-8656, and your meeting ID is 323-909-140. And once in, you're going to press *9 to raise your hand. Anybody at home having technical issues, you're going to dial 603-845-5585, and someone will help you.
Very good, thank you, Mr. Corbett. Anybody wish to speak in favor of this application would come forward at this time. Seeing no one, hang on just a second, no one rise at this moment. Anybody out there, Mr. Preventure?
Seeing none rise, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Anybody in opposition to this application, this would be your time to come forward. Seeing no gestures or anybody rise for that as well, and we have people there at all, Mr. Preventure?
Presently, we do have a couple of attendees, but seeing no one rise.
Okay, no numbers, no *9s there, huh?
Correct.
All right, good enough, thank you. All right, so we've met the protocol for public input on this, and if we'd like, we can go into deliberation. You have anything else you'd like to share with us?
No, thank you.
Very good. We'll take that motion, please.
I'll make the motion to go into deliberative session.
Mr. Burgess makes the motion. I have a second, please.
Second.
Mr. Corbett makes a second. All in favor of deliberation, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? So, anybody wish to speak on this matter?
I do. I just pulled it up. I was off by 1. It was 6 preschool children and 3 school children with no more than 4 under 36 months. And that was that. If she has 1 attending person with her assistant, then you can have 12 preschool children.
Okay. And I think as we determine the licensing process would determine that, proportionalized to the space. So I don't see any objection to this. I just soon leave it up to the departments that have authority on this. Mr. Dietzel?
All set, sir.
Okay, Mrs. Moore, and you all agreeable to that?
I am. I like that she took the route to come here.
Okay.
Many people have daycares and doing it the right way.
Very good. Mr. Corbett?
Yeah, there's not really much. I mean, the special exceptions, does it check a box or does it not? I have nothing to add to this one.
Okay. In our structured motion, we have subject to obtaining all state and town permits and inspections. Anything else anybody would like to add? Hearing no gestures there, we can take a motion to come out of deliberation.
I'll make the motion to come out of
Thank you,
deliberative
Mr.
session.
Burgess. Second, please.
Second.
Mr. Dietzel has a second. I don't know if I spoke over you, Jim, or not, but thank you. All in favor of coming out of deliberation, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none. Mrs. Moran, you have a motion to read.
I do. I make a motion on case number 25-114 for Kenya Owen to grant a special exception to the terms of Article 6, Section 165-45.d of the Town of Derry zoning ordinance to operate a children's daycare at their residence. Parcel ID 1144, zoned MHDR, as presented with the following conditions. We have one, subject to obtaining all state and town permits and inspections, and that concludes the reading of the motion. I need a second, please.
I'll second it.
Very good. Motion's on the floor. Mr. Corby, you have finding of fact?
Yes, finding of fact for case 25-114. The board found that the applicants are requesting a special exception to operate an in-home children's daycare at the residence. The applicant is requesting to allow the maximum number of children permitted by the state. The total number of children allowed will be determined by the fire inspector's office and based on the limitations of the 25% of living space that can be utilized. If approved, a state license to operate a daycare will be required, along with inspections by the fire and health departments. The board also includes all facts found in the meeting minutes for this application and incorporates all meeting minutes into its finding of facts and decisions. Does anybody have any additions or addendums to make?
Nope.
Seeing no gestures there. All in favor of moving this for a vote, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And Mr. Burgess,
I'm going to say yes.
Mr. Dietzel,
Yes.
Mrs. Moran,
Chair, I vote yes.
Mr. Corbett.
Yes.
The chair will make that unanimous. Congratulations, you've been
Thank you.
approved. Anybody aggrieved by this has 30 days to ask. After that, recourse would be to the next higher court, okay?
Thank you.
Very good,
Sorry
thank
for
you.
ruining your last name.
It's okay, you're not the only one.
Not nearly as bad as Mr. Perkins could have.
So,
All right, next case up is 25-115, Arthur Fandinian.
Another one for
Owner Halcyon Club. Gentlemen, good evening.
Good evening.
All right. So you're looking for a variance here, so we'll ask you to read that application as it's presented, as you presented it, and then we'll barrage you with questions I'm sure you've been watching, right?
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, so the variance, first of all, I'm Arthur Fandunian, 15 Central Street, Unit B, Derry, New Hampshire. The variance will not be contrary to the public interest because the proposed used car dealership will operate on a small scale with minimal traffic impact and no disruption to neighboring properties, enhancing local economy with affordable vehicles. The spirit of the ordinance is observed because proposed use remains automotive related, maintaining character and intent of zoning district. This property was a used car dealership prior to being a rental business. Substantial justice is done because the variance would allow a small family-owned and operated local business to adapt and remain viable without causing negative impact to the public or surrounding properties. The values of surrounding properties are not diminished because the dealership would be small-scaled and visually consistent with the existing business. No excessive noise, traffic, or unsightly conditions that can negatively impact neighboring properties. Literal enforcement of the provisions of the ordinance would result in an unnecessary hardship because the property is already being used for an automotive business. Transitioning from rentals to sales does not fundamentally change the nature or impact of that use. Intent of ordinance is not undermined by this shift.
That wrap you up?
Yes, sir.
Why don't you elaborate a little bit what you're trying to do there?
Yeah, so I currently own a car rental company, Lorenzo Rental Cars, and business has, we moved from Manchester to Derry, and given most of our clientele flies into the Manchester airport, it has impacted the business. So I'm looking to shift the into auto sales because it is not viable for us at the moment. And we aren't, it was previously a car dealership, so we're not looking to do anything large scale, just to keep the business afloat.
It was a car dealership decades ago, is my recollection, correct?
Yes, sir.
AMC dealer,
Yeah.
you recall? Okay. Any questions from the board?
How many automobiles are you going to be using?
How
How many automobiles are you going to be storing or have on display?
Probably, we're hoping to sell between 5 to 10 a month.
Okay, so how many would you have on the lot, is what it comes down to?
Probably around 10.
Now, currently, it's an auto repair shop, correct?
It's a car rental company.
There's two pieces to the building. There's the auto repair shop, and on the end of it is B, which is just a little shop on the end.
Let me see if I can get a better visual of this here.
Okay.
Anybody have any questions for the applicant? Mr. Corbett?
Not at this time, but I'll just comment, excellent penmanship on who wrote this. I appreciate that.
Do you want to have Owen put it on Google so you can see it in front of you?
So I guess I'm a little confused on the auto repair versus the rental. You're currently operating the rental business out of there now?
Yes, sir.
And what kind of cars are you renting?
We have a wide range. We have economy cars, luxury, we got like a slingshot, so pretty wide range.
I see. We have a photo of, I guess it would be a slingshot. Is it purple and orange?
Blue, yeah, blue and orange.
Okay. And so your rental business is out of it's on the right-hand side of the building?
Yes, sir.
And the auto repair is on the left-hand side of it?
Yes, sir.
And the two of you are joined in this matter?
Oh, I'm Jeff Cameron, president of the Halcyon Club.
Okay.
So he's my tenant.
Thank you, Jeff.
Yeah.
All right. And are you operating the rental business out of all three of these bays?
No. 3 bays?
Bays, yes. The garage bay doors?
We only have one garage.
Well, and my question is, are you operating out of all three or just one?
Oh, no, sir,
Apparently,
just-
the answer is one.
Just one, yes, sir.
Okay. And how much area of the rental are you taking up? I mean, so I'm not seeing Lincoln Town Cars or Teslas on this, right? These are kind of unusual vehicles to rent. Is it just kind of like, I don't know, recreational kind of matters that you're renting, or what's the deal there?
Only one vehicle is a slingshot. Most, I would say, 40% of the fleet is economy vehicles, Kias, Hondas, stuff like that. We do have one Tesla, we have one Audi.
Okay.
Nothing crazy. We only have, 16 active vehicles.
So, and you were operating up at the airport at one point?
On Candia Road in Manchester.
I see, okay. And are you utilizing the parking area across the street?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and that's for your rental business as well?
Strictly for the rental business.
Yeah. And Mr. Cameron, is there currently a repair shop in those left two bays? Do you own this building?
Yeah, we own the building, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a repair shop in the left 2 bays, yes.
Okay. And so is that repair shop taking up the parking across the street?
Yes,
And-
it's half and half with
Oh.
a divider, kind of like a light pole, but the light's not there anymore.
Yeah,
Yeah, they have half and half. Yeah.
Okay.
They can fit about 10 cars on each half, and we allowed him access to our parking lot to wrap the building with his cars, so he gets more cars.
How many used cars do you think you were going to sell out of this?
We're aiming for 5 to 10 cars a month.
A month?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't have much capital, so it's kind of,
Yeah.
going to start off very small.
So between your building and the Halcyon Club on the same side of the street, there's parking there. Is that part of your rental business as well? Or is that different parking perhaps for patrons?
Yeah, it's different parking for our patrons and members, but there is a ramp of 5 parking spaces that attach to his building, and we have him use those to occupy those spaces for his cars.
Got it, okay.
I'd just like to say, the face of the building will not change. What's there is there. The Halcyon Club members don't want a big car, you know, to sell cars there to make it huge. We don't want that, so it's gonna stay basically the same. And
Yeah.
for the next 2 years, we gonna sign a deal with the LMG for that across the street, and they're gonna use all their construction and their trailers there and that vacant land that we own.
Okay,
So just to accommodate the town and them as
Yeah.
well, yeah.
okay. Any other questions from the board?
I have one, Mr. Chair. So just kind of cut to the matter. So I think, to be very honest, what seems to be the most sensitive ask that comes to us as far as the townspeople is car dealerships. What is it that would separate this one from the other dealerships in town? What types of cars will you be looking to sell? Really, what's the need for the town for another dealership?
We're looking to provide affordable vehicles. Again, I'm not trying to build a merchant's auto or anything like that. I'm just trying to keep the business afloat because our expenses are through the roof, and I already, got everything furnished and stuff like that. So this is kind of like a last resort thing to keep me afloat there. I'm not, again, looking to do anything crazy, trying to keep it mid-range pricing. And I think that a lot of the dealers in not only New Hampshire, but just nationwide, with their non-transparent pricing and the phony fees that they throw on. With the rental business, we're actually one of the highest rated car rental companies in all of New Hampshire. We're 4.9 rated, 253 Google reviews. One thing that I pride myself in, and I've gone the business as far, is because we provide transparent pricing to everybody. I only have, I can't even count on one hand of angry customers I've ever had. Obviously, things happen. Customers damage vehicles. They get hit with, obviously repair costs and stuff like that. That results in an unhappy customer. I've never had a customer have a bad experience with us other than something that they've caused. So I think what we need in Derry and in New Hampshire and even nationwide is honesty and building trust with local communities. And that's what we're looking to bring, is to not screw people over, essentially.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Mr. Burgess? No?
No,
Mr. Dietzel?
I get my question.
No, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, Mrs. Moran?
Mine is kind of to go with Mr. Corbett's question. I know that right now that buying new, a lot of people are avoiding because of interest cost and just how much they cost in general.
Obviously, you know that you're here because this isn't something that complies with our ordinances, and car dealerships, as Mr. Burgess Corp has said, is a commonly asked request that often does not prevail. Have you sought on an alternative location? How is it that you came to this location?
The expenses at Manchester are pretty excessive, and I didn't think that the move to Derry, the offset of income that we're making because we are closer to the airport in Manchester, I didn't think it would make that significant of a difference, but it definitely has.
Okay. All right. Well, it's code enforcement. Wish to give us any input there?
Yes, please. As the applicant stated, they're currently operating as a car rental business, looking to convert for used car sales, not permitted in the central business district, therefore seeking a variance. They did go through a previous change of use process, and during that process, due to the limited parking at their unit on the property, They would be utilizing the property across the street, which was strictly limited to 6 spaces parking on pavement. And they would like to utilize that space to now display their used car sales. Also, it was previously stated, but keeping in mind the future development of the area, it appears to be in the vicinity of the future development. There also may be a letter in the file, Chairman, from the town administrator as well.
Yep. Noting for the record, the town administration has submitted a request in opposition of this matter, citing that the concerns for hardship don't seem that clear on this matter. That's for the record, and that's noted. Thank you, Ms. Owen. Gentlemen, you have anything else you'd like to add to this matter? Or?
Yeah, I would. We just brought both buildings up to fire code, so everything is brand new for the fire department, and it cost us about $7,500.
That's this building here?
This building and our club building, 11 and 15 Central Street, yes.
Okay. All right, well,
Can I
let's...
add one thing, please?
Sure.
I'm an obviously young business owner, started this from ground up myself, the rental business myself. Started when I was 18 years old, actually. So this is something that is very important for me to get so I don't fall on my face and fail. So obviously I would greatly appreciate if you guys would consider this. This would really help me and, save essentially my business. And again, I'm not looking to do anything crazy. Whatever requirements there are, I'll make sure I'm following that. And again, my goal is to not be, to show the community that trust needs to be, things need to be changed in the world of car dealerships, and transparency is one of those that I'm looking to achieve.
Yeah, so, admirable points, right? But you see car dealerships popping up in a lot of places abundantly. And the question comes down to, do you want to keep having that cycle continue on regardless of the hardship or emotional aspects that an applicant may have, right? And where's a proper fit for it and where isn't it? And sometimes what ends up happening is on grantings, boards can get burned. And we understand sometimes there's that partial acceptance you try to negotiate with. I don't know where the board's going to go on this matter at all, but just understand that what you're talking about is a community and oversight versus one individual versus another. So.
Yes, I 100% understand that. It was previously a car dealership, and from everything that I looked into, there was never really issues with it. That car dealer was also on a very small scale. He was a mechanic shop, and he was doing the auto sales to help him out. So I don't see this being an issue, because I'm not looking to do anything at a large scale.
I mean, and I get the integrity thing, right? That you've discussed, and you want to run a fair business. That's how you see it, and you don't want to sell somebody a salvage vehicle or something. That's what I'm hearing your portrayal being, right? And some of it, and it's always looked at in a good light in that portrayal. Sometimes the big three should have that philosophy, right? And their dealerships, but you're not in that category here, correct?
Yep.
All right, well, let's see if we have anybody in public that would like to give some comments on this. Anything that may be said by public, you'll have an opportunity to rebut, okay?
Okay,
But
thank
let's see if there's anybody out there that wants to speak on this matter at all. We'll post some phone numbers up there, and this applies to anybody in the room as well as remotely. Anybody who wishes to come forward and speak to this matter and support this application, this would be your opportunity to do so. Likewise, we have the phone numbers for the public. Mr. Corbett?
Yes, anybody at home who wishes to dial in, you're going to dial 646-558-8656. Your meeting ID is 909-140. Once you're in, you're going to press star 9 to raise your hand. And if you're having any technical issues, please dial 603-845-5585, and someone will help you.
Very good, thank you. Anybody in the room wish to speak on this matter? All right, seeing no one rise.
Whoop,
Anybody
somebody in the
in
back.
opposition to this matter? Gentlemen, if you want to step back, we'll let this gentleman speak. And I think we went from speaking in favor of this to opposition. Mr. Trefethan, correct?
That's correct. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. And your address?
My name's Steve Trefethan. I own multiple buildings all around the Halcyon Club and that property. I'm a direct abutter on one of those, and I have an interest on another one as a direct abutter. I'm going to give you some history, though, so that this will help, other than I think Mr. Burgess and Mr. Perkins probably have some detail. However, so I'll start back. Let me go back with a little bit of history first.
Can I caption, by the way, are you favor or opposed?
I would have to be opposed unless they came up properly with some kind of plan like the gentleman did with the sign.
Yep.
Because you have some issues there
Okay.
that need to be addressed.
Just
So
wanted
at
to
this point, I
caption
would,
where you were going. So
yeah,
go
no,
ahead.
I'd have to be opposed at this point, but I'd like to see them come back and fix up that lot next door. We're going to put $40 million right next to it. $24 million is our bond, and it's another, 15, 16 million to build that 114 units. They're beautiful. And I don't want to say a lot of bad things here. I could go back and say what the lot looks like and all that, but let me just start with this. I asked Mr. Mackey to send me something because I was quite familiar with this from 15 years ago, or 10 years ago, whatever it was. And I asked him what could they do there. I knew the answer, but he spelled it out nicely in a short paragraph. He said there was a court case sanctioned stipulation in 2019 that did not stipulate a number of vehicles on the lot, but did limit the vehicles to those of employees of the business and vehicles actively in the process of being repaired. No long-term storage or vehicles undergoing long-term repair or rebuilding is permitted. So that came along. Then the club wanted to use that lot. So there was, like you said, there's two doors on the left. That's always been a mechanic shop. They use it next door. I think they park cars a little longer than they should, but, business is business, and I'm business-oriented, so I try to stay away from that. But
That's been historical there.
huh?
That's been historical there for
Well,
15 years,
yes,
correct?
until the town had to take them to court and specify you can't just leave cars there forever. They have to come and go. So you repair them, they're gone. And that went on, and, but a lot of times it's been full or not full or whatever. So that was that. They came over, not through the zoning board, but through the planning board, so many of you may not be aware of that, but they wanted to put more cars over there, not for car sales, but they want to do some other things that Mr. Mackey could update you on that. But they did a site plan. I was at that meeting. Mr. LaRue was there. They had landscaping around the whole edge of the lot. I think Mr. LaRue mentioned they should put a fence there because the building's all around it next door, my building. It should have some blockage. It's just the cars out there now, they're kind of all over, the paving's in rough shape. And my complaint back then to the planning board was, my building's a 3-story, we look right down on it, so anything that's scattered all over the place, it looks like. So I'm not here to complain because it is what it is, but, so now so I was shocked to find out, and I'm not going to give Mr. Mackey a hard time because I love the way the town of Derry works, especially with Mr. Mackey and Mr. Sierros, but I said, I never got noticed for the rental businesses. And then he sent me, he let me know that was not, they didn't come in front of anybody, they just did a change of use through through Bob, which can be common. I was surprised that happened, really. And Bob, congratulations, I know you're leaving soon, so I'm not giving you a hard time here. Whatever you guys do, it's always been a friendly town, and I like it, so I'm good. But I never got noticed for that, and I'm a direct abutter to 2 of them, and then I have properties all around it. So I was kind of disappointed about that because they had gone in front of planning, and they had a plan to fix around it if they were going to do anything, even with the parking for the garage. Now they went through without planning, or they would have had to come back with the plan. They never did it. It was going to cost some money. They had to fix up the lot, put the landscaping around it, make it decent. So that was that. Now, the issue, one of the biggest issues, I have 2 buildings that are 3 stories. I have interest in one and I own another that directly abut. when you look down from the third story, you see all the cars everywhere. Something needs to be done with the lot. I might be in favor of what they want to do if they came in front of you like the gentleman with the sign and said, look, this is what we want to do. And I think being you're going to put $40 million next door in that beautiful building, that all those apartments that are going to wrap that place, I have to tell you, those apartments are going to be, 1,900 for 300 feet and up to 3,000. When you look out your 6th story or 5th story or you're on your little balcony, I know what it looks like from the 3rd story. I don't have an interest in that building, but I think you have to protect it. So I think what I want to say to the Halcyon Club, they've been pretty decent for the last couple of years. I've gotten less harassed, which I kind of like. But I would say I'd like to see them come with not only a plan to you, not just planning, but to you, if they're going to do that, if you're going to allow it. And I think they should have a canopy landscaping. So they should have some landscaping around it, a canopy landscaping. And I was in the nursery business for 20 years. And something with trees every 20 feet, that canopy over the cars, because if you're going to do a few cars, it would help the parking for the garage, and they probably could leave them there longer. It wouldn't look so bad. And then, it would also help those apartments, because 114 apartments there, none of us want that to fail. Everybody knows here, I wasn't a big fan of that, but it's here, and now we have to try to make it work. So I'd like to see something like that come to you guys, and I think they could do that relatively reasonably priced, and clean up their lot and make it something nice, so that it'd be, start to better the area. We got a lot of investments going there, and so I think that would be a good idea, and that's where I am with it. So I might be in favor of them one day, but right now, today, I wouldn't, and I don't want to throw fuel into the fire here, but I know he mentioned that, they need to make money, but every time I come in here and I mention anything about money or enhancing my business, the first thing I get, well, that's not a hardship. But like I said, I want to throw fuel into the fire. So I'll just leave it there. I think they should work and get that done and make that area that LMG is going to do now, those people, I wouldn't pay that kind of rent if I had to be next door to that. My rents are a lot lower, but I'm just saying. So anyway, I wish them the best, and I hope you guys can, if you're going to do it, or if you can't do it, that's another story. Again, Bob, sayonara. It's been 30 years I've been talking to Bob, so you did a great job.
I'll miss you.
Did a great job.
I have one question, just for
Sure.
my notes.
Yeah.
You said the 2019 court case, what courthouse was it out of?
So, Mr. Mackey, you want to do it more, I remember our conversation that long ago, but you want to do it more justice than I could do it?
Well, back in 2019, the town did file a suit due to the vehicles, the accumulation of vehicles and so forth that were across the street. And basically what came out of that was a stipulation that in the summary, that what Mr. Trefethan had just read out regarding what they could do. And basically it was to limit mostly it was the auto repair shop, that they would have to, the only cars that would be allowed, again, would be for the employees and would be for cars that were actively being worked on, because at the time there was some, I will call, junk vehicles, some clutter out there and so forth. So it was put in place to try to clean that lot up and make sure that it wasn't used for the long-term type of storage that it had been used for. Subsequently, this gentleman that did come in for the rental business, he had originally come in, it was discussed among staff. His original plan was a little more ambitious as far as the vehicles that he wanted, and based on that, he was headed for site plan review, and then he scaled it back substantially, and at that point, it was determined through the planning, well, through staff, but that change of use process is actually through the planning department, but it makes the rounds of all the various departments for comment. And that was what required at that time for the rental business. And then obviously you've heard they want to change it to the sales now, so.
And so that did not go to full TRC, I guess?
No.
All right.
And if I can just add one more thing, I know they have 6 spots across the street, and they used to put some cars on the side of the building that they were working on. There's only like 4 spots there or something, but I noticed they're putting, the rental is supposed to be across the street, but I notice, I'm there every day, 8 times a day. I'm there, it's my office and everything, but I notice they have, 2 or 3 cars, especially that slingshot thing, parked on their side, not across the street where they're supposed to be, but I don't blame them, because a couple of them were, it's probably an expensive car and you don't want somebody, so I don't know what that means. I would never complain about it. I'm just saying that you want that near your shop, your window where you can see it, so. But I would definitely, would be opposed to this without a plan coming in front of this board first, that has some kind of detail that says, hey, look, this is what it's gonna look like 5 years from now. It'll be nice and whatever, so I would be opposed to it until I see that. And I would be more than willing to work with them also, so either way.
I would just add one thing, Mr. Chair, is Mr. Trefethan is referencing a number of years ago, there was a site plan that did go before the planning board for Halcyon to basically improve that parking lot across the street, and as was described, landscaping, new pavement, and so forth. And I believe it went all the way, was approved by planning, but then it never was followed through by the property owners.
There were no violations, they just didn't do anything with it?
Correct, they just didn't.
Yeah, and I'll just say, since Mr. Mackey brought it up, the parking lot's in bad shape. It needs paving and stuff, and it's money, and they, like he said, they gotta pay $7,500 for the fire and all that, I get it. But that was a nice plan, and I would be even in favor of something that gradually moves along if it's money is the issue. But the parking lot needs to be done, and then whether they do that or not, they do need some kind of canopy landscape, and you're gonna put $40 million in that neighborhood right there. So, I think you need a little bit more myself, but I'll just leave it there. Hopefully I can speak for them at some point, because I would.
Very good.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody out there, Mr. Venture?
Chair seeing none rise.
All right, very good. And we have someone else who'd like to speak.
Nah, as Mr. Carter comes, I'm just gonna stand for a moment, just loosen my back.
Welcome back.
Thank you. I'm opposed to the used car lot there. Actually, for a couple of reasons. I think the town over the years has done a really good job working on the downtown, and I think a used car lot is really not a good fit for that place, especially given the fact that we're working on, with the big Abbott Court development there. I think it's a bad idea. Probably one of my bigger concerns is going to be what traffic is going to be like. You've got 275 parking places there at Abbott Court, and then on top of that, you've got this. You've got a used car lot and actually a car rental. I think that's just going to really have a big impact on traffic. And I would say, what Mr. Trefethan said, that if you do approve it, to clean the lot up, number one, and then, put some type of buffer so the residents don't have to, look out of their apartments and, look down and see that.
Okay. All right, very good. Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Carden? All right, very good. Thank you, Mr. Carden. All right, anybody else? Gentlemen, seeing no one else, come back up and you can rebut anything that's been said. Floor is yours, Mr.
Well, one thing that Steve said, the junk cars have been removed. That was an old tenant that I got rid of personally, because they weren't paying the rent, and it was a whole thing. So there are no more junk cars, so it doesn't look like a junkyard, and so that's all cleaned up. For the tenants next door, I wouldn't be opposed of doing some landscaping at all on that side, so they didn't have to see all that. I know what he's talking about, and that makes sense. As for the lot across the street, after LMG's use in their lease, I think it's gonna go for 24 months, there's gonna be all construction loaders, piles of dirt, trailers, everything. I haven't signed it yet, but I should be getting the contract this week, probably tomorrow or Monday. And so after the 24 months in that contract, they're gonna do something with that field, all new landscaping, all new grass. They're gonna make it look really nice for the town. That's a stipulation that I put in that needs to be done, or we won't have them on our property. So it is gonna look very good. LMG, we talked about some paving, because they're gonna come in there and do some paving on that side of the street, so they will fix a couple of our paving spots, so that's what we were waiting for. So that should address that issue, and it should address the landscaping issue across the street when they're done with their construction equipment and their lease.
And I do want to clarify as well, my rental fleet, the oldest vehicle we have is a 2016. So we have 2023s, 2024s, 2020s, and I'm looking to do that with the dealership as well. Not obviously new cars, but I'm not looking to bring 2005s, I'm not looking to bring ugly cars. I'm looking to bring nicer looking cars. I like nice cars, so I would prefer to sell nice cars. So, you know, obviously visual appeal is very important for me. So again, I'm not looking to bring beat up cars that are gonna sit. With the rental business, we haven't had a car sit for longer than a few days because they get rented. Same thing with car dealerships. We're not gonna have cars sitting. If it needs, you know, maintenance, we're gonna get it taken care of. And the whole goal is to sell the car. So when we rotate through, cars are not gonna be sitting. And again, it's gonna be visually appealing.
Okay.
I also like to say about the traffic, the gentleman said, I forget his name, that was one of my major concerns in LMG in their meetings a couple weeks ago. They said 4A, when it opens, is gonna take care of all of that traffic, which I'm opposed to, and I don't know if I believe that, but he's not gonna have any more traffic with a used car lot that's already a rental place. And so the traffic is gonna be a non-issue, in my opinion. We're gonna have way more traffic when everything is built with that parking garage going up Central Street, either taking a right or a left, which we've had this meeting when LMG was here about a month ago. And I'm still not sure where we stand on that. That intersection, maybe a light, I don't know how to fix that. But I think that's where we stand with that traffic, not a used car lot that he wants to sell 5 cars, you know? So that's just my opinion.
Okay.
And I would like to add, rental cars is a more, obviously the whole job is to rent cars as much as you can. So that causes a lot more traffic than selling cars. So I would see actually a decrease in traffic.
Well, I think one of the points that are made is that you had gone for a review with the staff. You scaled that down, right, to try and avoid that aspect and have to go for a full review, right? So, which comes back to, you know, how much traffic does the rental business create, and how much of an impact will used car dealership do relative to, you know, under the categories of just the diminution of values or public, you know, public interest. And so those are the matters that I think are most substantial here, as well as the hardship, right? There's certain areas that a dealership would fit better than other areas, and the town, the community gets flooded with car dealership requests quite a bit. And it's something that, looking over the whole area, the main corridor of this community, the desire has been to diminish used car dealerships, not to have them grow. So,
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Corbett.
No, one question I thought of as kind of listening to the opposition come up. One of the main things that you hear is the Abbott Court development and the $40 million kind of going in and the overall development of the downtown area. Do you foresee, you know, that the business, maybe the rental business possibly picks up with the addition of 200 plus apartments coming in, that you may now have an influx of 400 to 600 to 700 people that may, you know, hundreds of which may need to rent a car? And obviously it's not there now, but, you know, potentially leaving your business, you know, not to lead you, but potentially even leaving the business, leaving it. Do you think that could help you?
I've considered that, but with this business, you know, like I can meet 100 people and tell them, hey, I own a car rental company, and hear from them maybe one person out of the 100 in that year, because it's not very often people do need rental cars. 75% of our customers, I would say even closer to 85% of our customers in the summertime from May to September are tourists, people who come here to visit, which they fly into the Manchester airport. We also deliver to Logan Airport. We have a few customers that fly into Logan. In the wintertime, we have more local customers that rent, but you know, it's a very small percentage of customers that are local that rent from us. So it's definitely something that could happen, but I don't see it changing the trajectory of the business.
I have 2 questions.
Mrs. Moore?
Who is LMG?
They are the leasing company.
They are?
that's
Okay.
taking care of the property.
And then do you plan on getting the cars there? If you were to be approved?
Transportation-wise,
Yeah.
there's the auto auction of New England, only I think a half mile away from us, so we would just be driving the vehicles there. I wouldn't be doing like those transportation trucks or anything.
All right. Mr. Dietzel, Mr. Burgess?
Yeah, I
All set.
was wondering if you had, where would the cars be repaired? They wouldn't be repaired in the property? Would they be repaired next door, or do you have another mechanic someplace else?
We've inquired with the next door mechanic, but currently we use a shop in Manchester, so we only use the next door mechanic if the Manchester shop is unavailable. But we do have a dealership in Manchester that services our vehicles for us.
So nothing would be done on the property?
No.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else? Gentlemen, you all set?
No, thank you.
Okay. You guys all set?
Yeah,
good.
yeah, we're
Yep,
all set.
okay. Very
Thank
good.
you.
Thank you.
Take a motion to go into deliberation, please.
I'll make the motion to go into deliberative session.
Mr. Burgess has a motion. Could I have a second? Mr. Dietzel?
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor of going into deliberative, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, all right. We want to, anybody want to lead off here? I think this is an odd duck, and, you know, but we end up running into this, you know, a lot of people want to do a used car dealer, and and sometimes we end up getting burned from it, but we also know about the auto auction, one of a couple, but the primary one out on exit 4. I'm kind of concerned about the whatever the impact could be. I mean, if it was a rental business, it was on a larger scale, it was going to have to go for plan review. And the applicant voluntarily downsized it, but I get concerned about what a larger car dealer would do, or even at 6 cars. I just don't think it's a good fit for this area. I see we have a development going on behind this building that's been approved. It's got office space that's going to be in it, and along with residential condominiums or townhouses. So I don't know that I'm comfortable with it and creating that kind of an atmosphere where you have just random people coming in and looking at cars. And I get concerned about the public interest there. Anybody wish to follow up on that?
I think it's an admirable approach. I think the integrity, you know, being discussed is definitely missing in the field. And, you know, I think it could be a good venture, you know, but to your point, I unfortunately don't think it's the area, you know, the right area for the town right now. I think the development for Abbott Court that's going in, the plans that, you know, the town has really been gearing up for the downtown, and really just kind of, I want to say the directives to which, but knowing the plan, you know, that master plan for us to be, in which we should be voting with, I just don't know if this is the area. I think I agree with you, Mr. Chair. I would like to see the success for the company, you know, obviously, especially coming in from another town, but I just don't think this is the area for a dealership.
Yeah, I'm concerned about, like, you know, and I just spoke of this, right? And categorized as public interest, and certainly it's getting late in the day and the week, but, you know, I get concerned about the values of surrounding properties. What's a car dealership going to do there? And again, who's going to be coming in and out of there and to look at this? So overall, it's not a comfortable fit for me. Mrs. Moran, you have anything?
I do. With all the work that's being done in downtown by the town itself, not just investors, I feel that, like Mr. Corbett had said, that it would go against the spirit of the ordinance where you wouldn't really be helping them. I think it would hurt more than help. And I'm all for small business. That just doesn't seem like the right spot.
Okay, Mr. Dietzel?
I have a problem with the hardship aspect of it. I don't see anything inherent in this property which would cause a hardship. Financial considerations are generally irrelevant. I just don't see anything having to do with the topography or the shape or anything. The desire to have a used car dealership as opposed to what they have now is not really a hardship. That's more of like a desire. So I struggle with the hardship aspect.
Okay. Mr. Burgess, anything there?
Basically in the same ballpark.
Okay. All right. I think let's structure the motion subject to obtaining state and town permits and inspections as a standard. Are there any other conditions the board would like to have put on this? Seeing no gestures there. All right, I think that structures the motion. Let's take a motion to come out of deliberation.
I'll make the motion to come on
Thank
to
you very
deliberative.
much. Second, please.
Second.
Mr. Corbett seconds. And all in favor of coming out of deliberation, say aye.
Aye.
All right. Any opposed? Hearing none, we have a motion to read.
I do, thank you. I make a motion on case number 25-115 for Arthur Bandian to grant a variance to the terms of Article 6, Section 165-33.b of the Town of Derry zoning ordinance to operate a used car dealership at the property parcel ID 26173 and 30042, zoned CBD, as presented with the following conditions. We have one, subject to obtaining all state and town permits and inspections, and that concludes the reading of the motion. I need a second, please.
I'll second it.
Mr. Burgess seconds the motion. That puts that on the floor. Mr. Corby, of finding of fact.
Yep, finding a fact for case 25-115. The board found that the applicant is requesting a variance to change his existing car rental business into a used car sales business. The proposal includes the parking of vehicles at both 15 Central Street and the property across the street at 2 Central Court. Therefore, both parcels have been included in this application. The properties are located in the Central Business District, which does not permit the operation of used vehicle sales. Therefore, a variance is being requested. There is a GIS map that was included in the packets. I didn't mean to include that part, sorry. The property at 2 Central Court could possibly be part of the future Abbott Court development, and the board also includes all facts found in the meeting minutes for this application and incorporates all meeting minutes into its finding of facts and decisions. Does anybody have any additions or addendums to make?
Seeing no gestures there. All right, all in favor of moving this for a vote, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Mr. Burgess?
I am opposed.
Okay.
And basically, I could read down the entire list of 5 criteria and come up, they're all basically against those criteria.
All right, very good. Mr. Dietzel?
I'm going to vote no. I don't see the hardship criterion being met.
Okay, Mr. Corbett?
I'm also a no. Unfortunately, I don't feel that it meets the spirit of the ordinance and I believe it goes against the public interest. But with that, Mr. Van Dunyan, I do not believe that you know, the business you're trying to run is a failure. I think that it's just unfortunately not the area for which the town's looking to accomplish at this time, you know, but I think what you're doing is admirable, you know, and I'd just try to advise, you know, keeping your head up with that one.
Mrs. Moran?
Chair, I also vote no for the spirit of, or the ordinance for the reasons I stated before.
All right. The chair is going to make it unanimous on that no as well. You know, and like Mr. Burgess said, I can reference a couple of different aspects of the 5 criteria. I put that on the record. I'm opposed to it for the public interest. And, you know, part of that adds to the value of, diminished value of surrounding properties. So at that point, your application has failed by a vote of 5-0. Anybody aggrieved by this has 30 days to ask this board for rehearing. After that, recourse could be to Superior Court. Okay?
All right.
Very good.
Thank you for your
Good
time.
night. All right. I'm going to take a motion for Mr. Bodwin, the case number 25-117, to table to the next meeting.
Sure, I'll make that motion.
Motion by Mr. Corbett. Could I have a second, please?
Mr. Burgess.
Mr. Burgess seconds that. So the Bodwins here, you're released from the evening. We'll have to wait and see you in July. We won't have time to get to you this evening. We're going to dive into the next case and see how far we can get it to clean up the agenda. That's case number 25-116, Cynthia Student and the Student Revocable Trust.
Should I call out the next one? Do we want to establish that?
Now, let's see where we go here. Folks, how are you?
Very good.
You're looking for a variance to build a shed, 12-foot shed less than 15 feet from the side property line, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, why don't you go ahead and read that 5 criteria for us, and just know that you only have about 9 minutes.
I will talk fast. We came
No,
home
no pressure.
We came home 2 days early from vacation for this.
Oh, good.
The variance will not be contrary to the public interest because it will continue to be located behind the owner's primary residence and used to house basic yard equipment for property maintenance. The spirit of the ordinance is observed because it is storing basic homeowner's yard equipment in a safe and locked unit and not accessible to the general public. The substantial justice is done because the owner has spoken or communicated with surrounding neighbors regarding a new shed and has obtained 2 letters, one from the closest neighbor and one from the HOA, supporting the variance. The values of surrounding property are not diminished because it is replacing an existing structure which will be removed upon installation of a new shed. This will allow the owner to safely maintain the property. Literal enforcement of the provisions of the ordinance would result in an unnecessary hardship. I just put it's behind a private home. The current location of the shed requires unnecessary physical effort to move yard equipment to the main area for maintenance. I have 2 proposals. The first allows easy installation with immediate construction, and the second proposal requires removal of garden beds and moving an existing retaining wall. The dimensions of this, if the criteria in the subparagraph A are not established, an unnecessary hardship will be deemed to exist, and if and only if, owing to special conditions, dimensions and slope of the property limit the ability to relocate the shed within the specified ordinance. I included pictures of the shed in its current condition. If you look at those, there's an excessive amount of moss that's growing on the back of the roof, which we've been cleaning off repeatedly. It's at the bottom of a slope, and we've put in drainage on both sides of the stairs and coming off the corner of the house, trying to divert the overflow of the water. And if you look at the pictures, you can see at the bottom corner, the wood is all rotted. The bottom of the door is rotted.
So you're necessitating the need to replace the shed.
We do need to replace it, yes.
And you have a pie-shaped lot there, I see.
Yeah, it's very, very
Makes this very
narrow.
difficult to get your setbacks.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So the new shed is Are you building it yourself, or are you having it delivered?
We're going to have it delivered from Tough Sheds, and they'll assemble it on the property.
Okay, very good. Mrs. Owen, you care to give us any input here?
A pretty straightforward application, as the applicant stated, replacing the existing shed that is seemingly in disrepair with a new shed within the side property setback. This is in the low-medium density residential district, which requires a 15-foot minimum setback from the side property line. And if it is approved, if the board chooses to approve, then permitting will be required.
This is going in, is this bigger than your old shed?
No, it's going to be 2 feet smaller.
Okay.
It's going to be 8 by 12 to accommodate the area where we can fit it in.
Trying to fit it in as best you
Yep.
can. I
Yep.
like that. Okay. Mr. Corbett?
How much closer to the property line, and I'm sorry if I missed this from before, but how much closer to the property line will it be?
It's going to be 1 foot from the neighbor's fence, and we've...
Oh, no, I'm sorry, compared to the existing?
Oh, the existing one is, let me just take a look, I'm sorry. We wrote all that down on these here. So the current shed, help me read this, is
The rear corner is 16.5 feet.
from the property line now.
But the slope,
Yep.
it's on a slope there.
Yeah, it's down a hill. We had removed trees initially that were hanging way over the house, and when we took those down, there was a slope. So what we did, we tried to clean it up and make it at least usable. We put garden beds in there at the point, not realizing at the time we would run into this problem. And 10 years later, it's a little hard getting the equipment up the hill.
Okay.
And there's a small area of lawn we have to maintain in order to get the equipment up the hill, and that's, I'd like to just let the juniper grow over so we don't have to maintain that there.
Thank you. And then just a quick follow-up, the fence that's existing currently, is that going to be remaining?
Yes.
Thank you. And lastly, do you have any idea how close the shed on the other side of the fence happens to be? The neighbors?
Oh, that's probably 15 feet
Okay, so
anyways.
right, just
Yeah,
up.
because they have a garden is immediately on the other side of the...
I'm going to make a quick motion to extend the meeting by 15 minutes.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you very much. All in favor of extending the meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Okay, folks.
That answers my questions.
We're going to try and not take up all 15 minutes, okay?
I'm happy, no, I'm happy with that. And I
Uh,
know someone came out was it yesterday? Yesterday,
Nobody here.
but we were not home, and I didn't hear the alert until people had left, so we saw your
Mr. Burgess,
footprints.
you have any questions?
Nope.
Mr. Dietzel?
No, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mrs. Moran?
I just have one thing to note for the record, that the HOA does approve of this design and agree with it.
Okay, very good. All right, let's make a call to public. Anybody who wishes to support this application, this is your opportunity to come forward. Seeing everybody in the room rush forward, they're gonna have to take turns, so. We have a phone number there, and,
Got it for you?
well, anybody who is, let's move forward here. Anybody who is in opposition to this application, this would be your time to come forward.
Anybody online, you're now going to press *9 to raise your hand.
Okay?
And just for clarity, if you're having any technical issues and cannot raise your hand, dial 603-845-5585.
Good enough. You folks, I don't see anybody chiming in here. You don't know of any opposition,
Yep.
right?
Command Center, do you guys see any hands rising? No one
Thank
rise.
you very much. Thank you, Mr. Corbett. Worried about Mr. Preventure, so. All right, well, we'll kill.
I'll make a motion to go into deliberation.
I'll
or
second that motion.
deliberative.
Very good. Seconded by Mr. Burgess. All in favor of deliberation, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It's a pie-shaped property. They're having a tough time with it. They need to get a shed so they can put the lawnmower under cover. The black and white photos show that the old shed's all deteriorated, therefore they need a smaller shed put in there to try and comply with the property. I see that they have a hardship here because of geographical issues, and therefore I see no problems with this. Anybody have anything to chime in about?
In the words of Mr. Burgess, it's a shed.
It's a
Very good.
shed.
All right, good enough. I think we've covered that. We have obtaining all town permits and inspections for a condition. Anybody else have any other conditions? I didn't think so. All in favor of moving out of deliberation, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. We're out of deliberation. Mrs. Moran, you have a motion to read.
I do, thank you. I make a motion on case number 25-116 for Cynthia Student to grant a variance to the terms of Article 6, Section 165-47.b.4 of the Town of Derry zoning ordinance to replace an existing shed with a new 8-foot by 12-foot shed less than 15 feet from the side property line. Parcel ID 14010-011, zoned LMDR, as presented with the following conditions. We have one, subject to obtaining of state and town permits and inspections, and that concludes the reading of the motion. I need a second, please.
Second that?
Motion's on the floor, or all in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's on the floor. Mr. Corbett, you have finding of fact?
Yep, finding a fact for case 25-116. The board found that the applicant is requesting approval to replace an existing deteriorating shed with a new 8-foot by 12-foot shed with the rear corner 1 foot from the side property line, front corner 6.5 feet from the side property line. Property is located in the low-medium density residential district, which requires a 15-foot minimum setback to the side property line, and the homeowners association has approved this proposal. The board also includes all facts found in the meeting minutes for this application and incorporates all meeting minutes into its finding of facts and decisions. Does anybody have any additions or addendums to make?
No, thank you.
Seeing no gestures there, all in favor of moving this for a vote, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Mr. Burgess?
Yes.
Mr. Dietzel?
Yes.
Mr. Corbett?
Yes.
Mrs. Moran?
Yes.
Chair will make you unanimous. Congratulations, folks. Your application for your shed has been approved by a vote of 5-0. Anybody aggrieved by this has 30 days to ask this board for a recourse after that Superior Court, okay?
Thank you very much.
Sorry, vacation was cut
Thank you
short.
for hearing us.
Thank you.
All right, good enough.
We drove like maniacs.
Well,
We didn't hear that.
and likewise, I reflected here and got you through like a maniac. So anyway, have a good evening.
Thank you.
Other business, we have summer schedule, and we'll meet again in September, I guess.
Well, I guess we have 3 already.
We do have correspondence. We have the Town Country magazine here, and take a motion to table the minutes for 5/22/2025, 6/5/2025.
Make the motion to table both sets of minutes?
Thank you very much. I have a second,
I'll
please.
second
Second by Mr. Burgess. All in favor of tabling those minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Summer schedule looks like we have July 17th and August 14th or the 21st. Because it looks like we have 5 Thursdays in August.
It's
No, we have 4. The 7th is the first Thursday. So it would be the August 21st.
Yep.
Everybody on board with
Yep.
that? Mr. Mackey, we'll see you back here just to celebrate.
You'll be sitting in the sands?
My wedding anniversary is August 7th.
Congratulations.
To him.
All right, so July 17th, August 21st is our summer schedule. Can I have a motion for that or approval, please?
I'll make a motion to
Second
accept
that.
the approval.
Second that.
Yeah.
Yeah. All in favor of those dates for summer schedule, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Very good. Mr. Mackey,
Yes, sir.
I have to say to you, all the years that I've been chair, from time to time, I would ask you for your impressions on a case and give me some backfeed. And you have managed to dodge my sophomoric humor, and all these years I was hoping I would get like, I don't know, John Wayne or Daffy Duck or something, but you've stayed out of my tomfoolery. I congratulate you, and more than that, we'll miss your presence.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for everything, Mr. Mackey. You've been,
Thank you, sir.
you've been a huge
It
help.
was a pleasure.
Many
Been a
times.
huge help on the board, when I've had to ask you professional advice, for how I could approach things in other places. You've always been a huge asset, I think, for most people in the town. So thank you very much. Mr. Perkins wouldn't let me formally name the sunset clause after you, but I will be inferring your name every single time I bring it up. Don't you worry.
Maybe I'll come hang out in the audience.
And taunted right to the last minute, aren't you?
No, I was just going to say thank you for answering my 900 questions, no matter how many times I ask the same one.
My pleasure.
Well, Mr. Bob.
Well, we
Very
hope to
well.
see you around, and more than that, I hope as you and I share common interests, you get an opportunity to go to every pheasant stalking site that the state provides now. So you won't be restricted on Thursdays or Fridays this fall.
Very true.
Anyway, okay. With that saying, we'll take a motion to adjourn.
Make that motion?
I'll second that motion.
All in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We're adjourned. Good night, everybody.